a yellow speaker card for recording purposes and place it in the box at the podium in the council chamber. Please state your name before speaking, and speakers are limited to 3 minutes. To use Spanish interpretation devices, obtain one from the table by the interpretation booth. Turn it on and make sure it is on channel 0. Hang it around your neck with the front facing out. If you cannot hear, check to make sure the device is on and unobstructed. It only works inside the council chambers. Please return it before you leave. And this is in Spanish. Para dirigirse a la Comisión de Planificación, complete la tarjeta amarilla y antes de hablar, coloca en la caja que está en el podio en la Cámara del Concilio Municipal. Por favor, indique su nombre y tome en cuenta que está limitado a 3 minutos. Para usar los aparatos de interpretación en español, obtenga un aparato de la mesa junto a la caseta de interpretación, prendiéndolo ahí y usa el canal 0. Colóquese en el cuello con el frente hacia afuera. Si no puede oír, revisa que el aparato esté encendido y sin obstrucciones. Solo funciona dentro de la Cámara del Concilio. Regrésalo antes de partir. Okay. Here we go. Introduction. Newly appointed Planning Commissioner Jenny Sarameto for District 1.
Thank you, Jenny. She was, read her oath of office, and so welcome back to the Planning Commission. Do you have anything you'd like to talk to us about?
No, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be back, and I'm really excited to serve for District 1 and representing Councilmember Felipe Hernandez. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to item 2.0, roll call of commissioners.
Sarmiento,
Here.
Jenkins. Here. Rivera,
Here.
Kammer. Here. Corley,
Here.
Dana, Gonzalez.
Here. Okay, with that, could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to item 4.0, petitions and oral communications. 4.1, oral communications from general public and the Planning Commission. This is a time set aside for members of the general public to address the Planning Commission on any item not on the agenda, which within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No action or discussion shall be taken on any item presented except that the Planning Commissioner may respond to statements made or questions asked, or may ask questions for clarification. All matters of the administrative nature will be referred to staff. All matters relating to the Planning Commission will be noted in the minutes and may be scheduled for discussion at a future meeting or referred to staff for clarification and report. Any Planning Commissioner may place matters brought up under oral communication on future agenda. All speakers are asked to fill out a yellow speaker card and place it in the box at the podium. Go to the podium, announce their name and address in order to obtain an accurate record for the minutes of the meeting. At this moment, it's this oral communication. If anybody would like to come and speak up, it's something that's not on the agenda item.
Good evening. My name is Ramiro Medrano. I live right across the bridge in Pajaro, but I work, shop, and spend my time here in Watsonville. And today I'm here because I caught news of potentially a new business coming into downtown Watsonville, Taco Bell. And I heard that they were interested in possibly opening up a new location in downtown Watsonville. Now that McDonald's, there's been a change in restrictions with regards with drive-through. Now Taco Bell is interested. So I just wanted to say that to please think about the businesses that you will be opening your doors to. Watsonville has a 49% childhood obesity rate. And I think businesses like Taco Bell are a step backwards. I don't think that businesses like McDonald's and Taco Bell were included in the vision for the revitalizing of the downtown here in Watsonville. I don't think it's a good fit. I think we already have too many fast food restaurants. And in addition, I think it would be way too close to Watsonville High School having an open campus, and also being in the way for many low-income students that go to Pajaro, walk to Watsonville High or from Watsonville High home. It'd be way too close. Their menu is way too affordable for students who don't have much money, whose parents may be working late hours and come home hungry to a cold house, to no food. So I would like to speak against the invitation to open up, these opportunities for businesses like McDonald's, businesses like Watsonville, like Taco Bell to come to downtown. I think it would create more traffic. I think it would create more smog in our communities. And I think they're targeting our people. I think they're targeting low-income families who don't have many other options. I understand. I've heard all of the, all of the sides that we have to invite businesses to come to Watsonville. We need revenue, et cetera, et cetera. I think that no business is better than bad business. I think if we open up our doors to more fast food, I think we will see expenses on the rise in terms of healthcare and in other ways as well. So many members of the community actually think the way that I do, and we're actually starting a group that is going to be dedicated to watch some of the things that come before the Planning Commission and the City Council to make sure that our town continues to grow in a healthy and better way. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Felipe Hernandez, District 1. I just wanted to share with you guys some information about the first annual community dog walk. We're calling it Tails on Trails because it's going to be at the Watsonville Slough. So I'm inviting everybody, if you have dogs, and even if you don't have dogs, later on we're going to work it out with the animal shelter to walk their dogs if you don't have a dog, so that we actually do a benefit for the animal shelter as well. So I want to invite you guys. It's this Saturday. I want to invite the community actually too. It's this Saturday at the Nature Center. We're going to meet. That's right behind Ramsey Park at 10:30, and at 11 o'clock sharp, we're going to start the walk down the Watsonville Slough Trail and then back down the other way. We do have leashes are required, of course, for the pets, and we're going to have a 10-15-minute presentation from the Nature Center about proper dog etiquette at the trails, making sure that people bring doggy bags, making sure that they're on a leash, and just things like that, not bringing water bottles and throwing them away and stuff like that. So that'll happen at 10:30, and I hope that you guys can make it out there. It'll be our first one, and there's a lot of support from the community. I know that I couldn't fit all the sponsors, but there's other people that wanted to, be part of this. The animal shelter is going to be part of it. The Paro Valley veterinarian is going to be part of it, and some other ones. So if you can make it out, if you have a dog, bring them out. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, this is oral communication. Anyone willing to speak to the Planning Commission can step up to the podium. Seeing none. Commissioners, do you have any announcements or introductions you'd like to make? No?
Friday night, about 2 weeks ago, I had the chance to go to Ella's at the airport, and if you haven't had a chance to go, I recommend you go. She's got a really good operation there. She's done a lot of good work to the facility, and the food's really wonderful. So I highly recommend going at some point. Thank you.
Okay. No? All right. See no more. We're going to go ahead and move on to item 5.0, consent agenda. 5.1, motion to approve minutes for the February 3rd regular meeting. Okay, I've just been told we can do both of them at the same time. So we can make a motion to approve minutes for the March 3rd, 2015 regular meeting.
So moved.
We have all those in favor, I guess? All those in favor, say aye. 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 Motion approved. Okay, we're gonna go on to item 6.0, public hearing. 6.1, the public hearing to consider an application for a special use permit to allow the establishment of an auto repair business at 94 Airport Boulevard, filed by Maria Luisa Ruiz Rios, the applicant. We have a 5-minute staff presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Gonzalez, members of the commission. My name is Susie Merriam. I'm a planner with the Community Development Department. The applicant has submitted a special use permit application to establish an auto repair business in an existing repair garage at 94 Airport Boulevard. The proposed business will perform general auto repair, smog certification, and the property contains existing auto and tire repair shops operating adjacent on the property. It's essentially all auto repair uses on the property. I'll just show you the building here. This is the entire building. It's cut up into 4 tenant spaces. They're taking the end one, which is on the corner of Airport and Freedom Boulevard. The garage is approximately 1,000 square feet in size. It includes a roll-up door, and they've got 2 vehicle lifts. It has a bathroom and then a small storage area at the rear of the facility. Just to look at the parking and the existing site by aerial, it's again right on this corner, and then you've got your other tenant spaces down the building. The site's approximately 23,000 square feet, and again, it was previously used for auto repair. Their hours are consistent with an auto repair business, pretty much 8:30 to 5:30 during the week, and then half a day on Saturday and closed on Sunday. The parking, as you glimpsed on the aerial, there are approximately 35 parking spaces provided for all the businesses in the complex. This use requires 5 parking spaces, and 5 parking spaces are dedicated for this shop, so that the parking requirement is met. So with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving the special use permit based on the findings and conditions, and that the proposed use meets all requirements of the Watsonville Municipal Code. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for staff?
Susie, I've been a patron of the Pasillas folks next door, and they are always jammed. There are a lot of cars there, and so I'm wondering if there's any kind of an agreement that this person has with the rest of those, and I think they're all Pasillas, the rest of them are spaces, with respect to trying to maintain 5 spaces for this business, because the rest of it is very, very crowded, and I'm not always sure why, because people with tires usually come in and go out. but it's virtually always jammed.
Again, this was previously used for auto repair, so it's been set up and it's parked to meet the requirement for both the existing Pasillas facility as well as this one. So above and beyond what our minimum parking requirements are, there's not a whole lot we can do. And then regarding their actual agreement, whatever's, what's in the lease, I would defer that to the applicant.
All right, I just wanted to note that, because that's been my experience in both visiting and then going past it. I go past it probably once or a few times a week, and it is really full of cars. So I hope he has some kind of an understanding with the folks in the tire business.
Right.
Any further questions for staff? I have a question. Is there a condition on, and I hope there is, that no work will be done in the parking?
I believe.
No non-removable vehicles in the parking spaces?
There usually is. Yeah, no work shall be conducted outside the building. Condition number 8.
Question on the vehicles that are being used or worked on, are they going to be allowed to be stored outside in those parking spaces?
No, any cars that are waiting to be worked on would have to be in the parking spaces or in the shop.
Okay. So if a client comes to this location and they have all their parking spaces used for cars that are going to be worked on, how do they meet their requirement for parking?
That's something that would be difficult to enforce, but on this lot, if they have them parking anywhere other than the parking spaces are going to be in the drive aisle. So that's something that's kind of difficult for us to enforce. If they've already got, if they meet their parking requirement, all we can require is that they park in the parking spaces and that they don't do any work outside the building. But generally, it's been my experience that if I need my car worked on and they don't have the time that day or whatever to work on it, they tell me to come back.
And again, I'm just
Yeah.
going back to Mr. Jenkins. That place is really always super packed with cars.
Gotcha.
So, okay. No further questions? No? We'll go ahead and open it up to the applicant presentation. Is the applicant here and would like to make a presentation? They have 5 minutes. You can please come to the podium.
Good evening, buenas tardes. My name is Maria Luisa Ruiz Rios, and maybe I can help clarify some of your questions. The first gentleman, something about the parking, that Pasillas was always busy. It's really nice to work with him. Very respectful, and he has told us that we will have 5 parking spaces. It is pretty busy there all the time. I guess they've been there for a long time. But that, or where cars go through, it is always clear because we're in and out of there, and they have been very respectful of our space. Anything else?
Anything from the commissioners?
Well, that's encouraging to hear, because that kind of cooperation is going to be important, so that you have your spaces there for your clients.
Yes, they're a family establishment. Ladislao and his parents are there every day, and they've been really supportive. And we're hoping to make a good beginning there. It's small, but it's a good beginning for us.
Good.
Jenny?
Is this the first time that you open up a business, or is this, are you moving from another location?
No, this is the first time that I join on my husband on something like this. He's been a mechanic for a long, long time, so he has his clientele. But
it's the
for
first
me,
time
it's
that-
the first. Yes.
The first time that you together are running a business?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further questions for the applicant? None? Well, I wish you the best,
Thank you.
okay?
Thank you for your time.
And we're going to go ahead and move on to commissioner discussion. Oh, sorry, I got corrected here. Public hearing. This is open to the public now. Anybody wishing to speak on this item on the agenda can step up to the podium and have the 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, go ahead to item D, commissioner discussion. Any discussion on this? None? Seeing none? Okay. Go ahead and, do I hear a
I'd like to
motion?
make a motion.
We have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, we approve this application for a special use permit.
Second?
We have a second by Jenkins. We have a roll call?
Corley,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Cammer,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes?
Sarmiento,
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to item 6.2, which is a public hearing to consider an application for special use permit to allow the establishment of a batting cage and training facility in an existing warehouse at 655 Rodriguez Street, filed by John Casadas, applicant, on behalf of the owner, Rahid Farhat.
Hi, Chairman Gonzalez, members of the commission, Susie Merriam again. The property at 655 Rodriguez Street is located in a high-density residential zoning district. The property contains 2 warehouse buildings, as you can see on the screen. Most recently, it was used for Better Brands as a distribution facility. For the past several years, the facility has been vacant. The applicant is proposing to convert the large warehouse building to a training facility with batting cages. Here's another picture of the side of the property off of 6th Street. As you can see, the old loading bays and that smaller warehouse, and then it's sandwiched between 2 residential units. So Chapter 1420.050 of the Watsonville Municipal Code allows for the continued use of non-conforming properties with the approval of a special use permit by the Planning Commission. This property is considered non-conforming because it's historically been used as industrial/commercial use. However, it has the high-density residential zoning designation. The property is located, it's on Rodriguez, and it's right near the corner of Rodriguez and 6th Street. There's one house, as I'm pointing to the screen with my pen, one house that separates this from 6th Street that is actually on the corner. It's been difficult over the years to find a compatible use for this property because it is surrounded by residential uses, and we didn't want nobody wants conflicts with the residential area. The proposed training facility with the batting cages will allow for a use that not only benefits the community, but also fits in with the residential character of the area. It'll provide additional activities for residents and kids in the area who like to play baseball. The floor plan, just to, oh, here's the aerial. As you can see, it's an L-shaped lot. I'll follow with my cursor. It runs down here, cuts out to 6th, and comes back. So they're going to be taking this large warehouse building. The this building is approximately 4,800 square feet. There's a smaller storage area. It's going to have a pitching room, 2 batting cages, a small lobby, restrooms, and then soft toss stations and exercise equipment. So the applicant's proposing to retain this storage building just for essentially storage or not using it. Hours of operation, it's really from the applicant. This is going to be a family business starting up. It's going to now be the only pitching facility in Santa Cruz County, as the two that used to be up in Santa Cruz have closed. So his family's going to be running this. The hours on the screen would be absolute maximum. Obviously, if you've got a family of, the husband and the wife and the kids, they're not going to be working all of this time. And the other point is that it's going to be by appointment only. So generally, teams will make appointments, and the entire team will come and do their practice and training and then leave. So they're looking at maximum hours of 10 to 9 during the week, Saturday 8 to 9, and then Sunday 10 to 5. The parking. The Watsonville Municipal Code requires 3 parking spaces per batting cage, and because this is a little bit unique, we also added that 3 parking spaces to the pitching room and the toss station. So a total of 12 parking spaces would be required for the use, and 15 parking spaces are provided on site. So parking requirement is met. So the conversion of this warehouse at 655 Rodriguez to the batting facility will provide an amenity for the community, as well as the county as a whole, by providing, the batting facility. All required parking is accommodated on the property, and this is a less intensive use than the previous tenant, in that they're not going to be bringing large trucks there, backing in and out and interfering with neighborhood traffic like previous industrial uses have. And so for these reasons, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving the special use permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Go ahead, Ms. Jenkins.
Susie, what is the law or the regulations in the city if the property has not been used for these non-conforming commercial purposes for some 6 years? Does it lapse then? What happens?
Technically, it could lapse. However, in the past, we have given some leeway to these buildings to keep them in use with compatible uses to the neighborhood.
Additionally, the non-conforming use section allows, with a use permit, to go back to the previous use. So sometimes it's difficult to, residential, you could not use that existing building. So again, that's why we have the non-conforming use section that allows reuse with a use permit, and that's why it's coming before you.
If it were to be used for residential purposes, how many units could be built on that lot, given surrounding zoning?
It would have to be completely redeveloped. You couldn't use those buildings for residential purposes.
No, I'm assuming you clear the lot and you clear the parcel and you build residence. I'm just curious.
I'm guessing maybe 4.
It's probably more than that. What's the size?
I think it's 10,000 square feet.
Yeah, so it's about 2,000 square feet per unit's RM3. So it's a high-density residential district.
Maybe 5.
Right.
Yeah.
It surprises me that somebody or the owner hasn't said, geez, I want to develop that because it's a good location for residential. It's close to downtown, et cetera. But apparently not.
Well, the owner may be looking to do that in the future, but the interim plan is to get at least.
Yeah. Now, are these batting cages kind of noisy?
Well, the cages themselves aren't noisy, but actually probably hitting a ball is
right.
slightly.
The activity that occurs therein. Okay, well, I guess we'll have a chance to hear from the neighbors. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I have a couple
ahead, Marty.
questions. On the parking issue, can you bring up the slide that's showing it from, where it shows
The
the
entrance
loading
exit?
pit?
He's actually he's proposing to fill the loading bay, so,
That
yeah,
takes care
that'll
of that
actually
question.
work.
My other question is lighting.
Mhm.
Are we requiring any more lighting in the parking area?
We hadn't considered that. We can definitely add that as a condition. You
I'd like
feel
to
that's
see that because
necessary.
it's, I mean, we're talking kids and stuff, and it's could quite possibility be dark back there. That's all I have. Thanks.
Any further questions for staff? Jenny?
I recall reading about this facility a couple of years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, that it was being used for growing marijuana. Is that
It was approved as
meaning that?
it was approved as a furniture warehouse,
Mhm.
and they did utilize it, and then there was a crackdown on it, and yeah, so that was the previous use, was proposed as a furniture warehouse, but it became a marijuana grow. So, and the police shut it down.
Okay, so do they have to do any extra cleaning to the facility? I'm not sure.
No.
No.
Everything from the previous use was essentially portable and completely cleared out.
Okay.
I just have a question about, could you go to the previous slide about the hours? And I'm seeing that the facility, it says by appointment only, and then it also says in our packet that it would be a benefit to the surrounding community. How would, and maybe this was a question for the applicant, but how would the community be able to use the facility if it's by appointment only and the vision is that it would be used by teams? So how would the community be part of that use?
Well, if any, we can ask the applicant, but the idea is generally if anyone is playing softball or baseball or t-ball or little league in this area or in the neighborhood, in order to have batting practice in a facility like this, they have to go to Monterey. So we've got it right here if this is approved and works out. And kids, I mean, if they want to make an appointment or if they have open hours, if kids want to go in there, they could also, like Jerry's Sports that recently closed down in Santa Cruz, you could go in and put in quarters and hit the ball in their batting cages.
Thank you.
I have a question. A condition, is there going to be surveillance requirement on this batting cages?
It's
Because I mean, as late as they're going to be operating at night.
you're not selling alcohol.
No, I know, but I understand that point of view. But I mean, as it is already, our schools have been targeted for their equipment and vandalism. And, you know, and this is sitting somewhere in a neighborhood that I wouldn't like to see this business be vandalized or targeted for their equipment.
Yeah, I know that's a good point. But it's not something I don't think that would be appropriate for us to require them to have. It would be for kids' safety, but for their own, to protect their belongings, it would definitely be a good recommendation.
Okay, thanks. No further questions for staff? No, seeing none. We'll go ahead and move on to the applicant's presentation. Is the applicant?
Good evening. My name is John Caceres.
Good evening. You can go ahead, you give your presentation.
Okay, so as far as the appointments we're talking about for like the special training. You know, anybody can come in and use the batting facility, but there'll be like strength and conditioning and stuff like that also that we wanted to provide for the kids for agility and balance and, just for speed and stuff like that. So that kind of stuff would be like by an appointment. But as far as the facility being open to the community and to the public, that would be, anybody could come in at any given time to come and use the machines and the soft toss room and stuff like that. The appointment part would be like the structural part of the, trying to get the physical training part of them.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate it.
Sure. And as far as the security goes, I mean, I would love to have that's something that we would definitely be looking into as far as getting surveillance up. But I don't know if you guys notice on the fences, it has like barbed wire on there. So, I mean, that kind of keeps, people out from climbing over the fence. But, definitely I would love to, in the short future, have some kind of video surveillance where we could monitor everything, have one in one room, one in another room, one outside, where we'll be able to sit behind a computer and be able to see, everything going on at one time. And so basically, my thing is, I just wanted to try to better the youth here in Watsonville and the Santa Cruz County. As far as baseball, softball, training-wise, there's a lot of good coaches in this town that are willing to provide good services for the youth here. They're doing it now, but they're out doing it on baseball fields, and those fields are crowded. They're having to fight for them for soccer and and other things like that. So that would be that's our big plan. Is to try to bring in the youth and try to keep them off the streets and in a facility to where we're having to travel to Monterey every Wednesday to use their facility. And it's time and money, gas, and I think a lot of people in this town would like to see this happen.
Complete?
Yeah.
All right. You have any questions for the applicant? Mr. Jenkins.
Mr. Caceres, how noisy are these batting cages?
They're not very noisy. I mean, it's going to be indoors. Everything's closed up. The balls are hitting up against nets. So I mean, it ain't really like it ain't like the balls are going to be hitting the warehouse, wall. If that was the case, then it would be super noisy because balls would be but the balls are getting hit off the nets. So basically, you're just going to be hearing a dink, and with the doors closed and everything. I mean, I don't feel like that's going to be that big of a noise factor there.
Okay, thank you.
Marty?
Yeah. Are you going to be offering like individual classes or for like pitching, batting, fielding?
We would like to try to do something like that. Right now, we have people that can come and do clinics, that are not from here, like the girl where my daughter does her pitching lessons, Kim Reeder. She's a really well-known pitching coach. She played for Ohio State Buckeyes, and she does all her pitching lessons over in Monterey, and she's willing to come over here on weekends and do clinics, so to bring in kids and teach them the proper way to do stuff and so that's what we were planning on doing is doing clinics and stuff like that, for individuals that want to learn more than somebody else.
And one more quick question. What kind of background do you have in this?
Well, as far as business or baseball, I mean, I played Little League all the way since I was small through high school. I was on the Watsonville Aggies. I played on a World Series team. So, I mean, I didn't play college or anything like that, but, I mean, that's basically, what I got.
Thank you.
Jenny?
I have a couple of questions. One of them is, how many people will you have working at this facility?
In the beginning, just to try to get it going, it's going to be basically, volunteers, just so I can establish something and try to get it going. I'd probably say maybe, 4 to 5 people to try to help me out.
And what kind of background check will you be doing on the volunteers who will be working with some of the youth?
That's a good question. I guess that's something that we would definitely have to do. Right now, I don't have an answer to that. I haven't even thought about that, but I'm sure that's something that we would have to definitely look into.
Yeah, I would strongly recommend that you do that.
Yeah, no, that is a good idea.
And one last question. What is the cost for the youth who wanted just to stop in from the community, who didn't belong to a team, and so they weren't coming as a group?
Well, there's going to be, I mean, for probably like $10, that's what we do. Like when we go to Monterey, my daughter does her pitching lesson. Her pitching lessons is $30 for a half an hour, and then we hit balls. And they have a full lineup of different amounts which you could pay for. I mean, all the way down to $5, which is affordable, up to, $500, it depends on how many balls you want to, a lot of people that go in there monthly, they just get like a $50 card, and that $50 card gives them like 200 and something balls to hit, and you could hit 10 balls in one sitting, come back in another day and hit another 15 or 20. So, it's going to average from 5 to 100, just depending on what, because there'll be like packages, you could do different packages for different amount of balls you want to hit. That's what I've seen in all the batting facilities that I've gone to. I've gone to the ones in Monterey. They have 2 of them. We go over there, and I've been to the one in San Jose. They got a big one in San Jose. It's three floors. And, so I've just been getting ideas from other facility sites.
Okay, thank you.
And to make it more affordable here in Watsonville than going to Monterey.
Any further questions? Okay, well, I applaud you for your venture here that you're going to take on. I wish you the best, okay? Again, a concern of mine is the surveillance around the area, the amount of traffic you're going to have, especially late at night. So that's one of my concerns that hopefully you address. And also, as Commissioner Jenkins sends the background checks on folks that are going to be working with youth is really important there.
Yes, I
agree.
agree.
You are going to be in a neighborhood that really needs this kind of outlet. So, again, I wish you the best, and I hope you bring in that neighborhood also and
Thank
teach them
you.
baseball. Okay? No more questions? Going on to the public hearing part. Thank you.
Okay.
Public hearing section of this part of the agenda on this item. Anybody wishing to speak on this item on the agenda can do so now.
But I'm here talking about it anyway. My name is Vicki Gonzalez. I've been in Watsonville all my years, and I am applauding this gentleman for coming up and doing that because we need that. I have been working with the youth for over 15 years. I ran the Watsonville, football team. I'm also on the Watsonville American Little League. As far as your background check, every baseball manager, coach, anybody that has to do with the kids, even the mothers, have to have a background check. And what they do is they take a driver's license, they fill out a form, and it's sent in to the Little League people, and they do all the background check. If something comes back, and believe me, we've had a couple of coaches that stuff has come back. And that's what they do. They just don't let, anybody off the street, do with our kids. I wouldn't do that to anybody either. But just to let you know, and that's only because I know, because I've been there and I'm on like I said, the Watsonville American Little League, and we do thorough background checks on all the coaches. And this gentleman, if he does have the coaches, from around here, I'm pretty sure all of them have to have that background check, just for your reference. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Once again, this is part of the public hearing for this item on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the commission discussion. No discussions? Yep. Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to staff recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
I move to adopt the motion before us as staff recommends.
I'll second it.
Was there any modifications to include lights, or is that wasn't included as part of the original?
As staff recommends.
Okay.
I would like to add that they also do background checks explicitly, that is included there. They do background checks of all their coaches and volunteers who will be working with the youth.
Can we narrow that down to his employees?
Yeah.
Okay.
Employees
Employees and volunteers.
of his facility.
That's fine.
Do you accept that?
I just have a question about how is that something that the city enforces?
I'm not sure we can actually require background checks for the business. I don't think that's enforceable by the city.
I mean, we could have them go to the police department who could do the background check. I mean, that would be a way that we could do it.
Well, I believe that it's really good practice for any organization or business that works with youth, children and youth, to have that practice. It's to their benefit as well, not just for the safety of the kids.
I don't disagree, but I don't believe that we have the jurisdiction to enforce that type of condition on the business. I think we can make the recommendation that they do. And I'm guessing that from hearing from the public tonight and hearing your concerns, he'll probably do that. But I don't believe that's something that the city can require or enforce.
But we can recommend.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to do that.
I'm fine adding that into the.
Okay, and the lighting? No extra lighting?
I would like to see it, just because of the safety issue. I don't think there's a whole lot of lighting over that parking lot right now.
I would agree with that. Knowing
I mean,
that area, I would agree with the lighting is going to prevent certain things from happening.
Imagine the owner's best practice would be to put lighting in also.
Yep. Okay, with those,
Can we have the motion read back? Do you have that, Keith?
It would be staff recommendation, including recommending that the applicant move forward to do background checks and consider additional lighting in the parking lot.
Yeah.
yep. Seconded, Marty?
Yes.
We had a second? Okay, well, roll call?
Corley,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes,
Hammer,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Sarmiento,
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes. Okay, with that item completed, we will go to item 6.3. This is a public hearing to consider an application for a special use permit to allow the recognition of an existing bedroom conversion done in 1972 per the non-conforming use ordinance for a garage for a unit 8A at 8 Nona Avenue, filed by Charles Eden, applicant. On behalf of the owner, Mary Gonzalez, the project is eligible for categorical exemption per section 15301, existing construction of the California Environmental Equality Act, regulations that allow modification of existing structures for residential units under the exemption. Staff presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Gonzalez, members of the commission. The property is located in the single-family residential low-density zoning district, which requires this, approval of a special use permit by the Planning Commission for legalization of the expansion of a non-conforming use. So this project was brought to the Planning Commission on December 2nd of last year. 2 planning commissioners were absent from the meeting, and after public hearing and discussion, the members present made a motion to approve the project. However, the motion did not pass due to a lack of votes in support. Now, the Watsonville Municipal Code states that no resolution shall be passed or become effective without receiving the affirmative votes of at least 4 members. This project received 2 votes in support and 3 votes against. So even though the majority of commissioners present at the meeting did not vote in support of the motion, there were not 4 votes either supporting or against it. And so therefore, essentially it came out to no ruling, no recommendation, nothing that was effective. So it's for this reason that the project has been brought back to you tonight for reconsideration. So chapter 1420.050, which is actually the same section as our previous item, allows for the intensification of a non-conforming use, in this case, the addition of a bedroom, with the approval of a special use permit by the Planning Commission. The property contains 3 units, but is zoned to allow a maximum of 1 main unit and an accessory dwelling unit, like a granny unit. Because the property contains more than the allowed number of residential uses, it's considered a non-conforming use. The property was originally developed in the jurisdiction of the County of Santa Cruz and was annexed to the city in approximately 2002. The original 1-car garage was converted to a bedroom in one of the units approximately 43 years ago. The conversion was never cited for code enforcement while it was under county jurisdiction. Finally, we get to an aerial of the site. The green lines outline the property. This is the unit in question tonight. The area is predominantly single-family homes, but it does have some properties with multiple residential units. Permit records in the transfer of properties from the County of Santa Cruz to the city during annexation are not complete. However, the county assessor records don't show the bedroom conversion in this unit as being permitted. This is just a site plan showing Unit B, which is the actually, this is just Unit 8, sorry. The main unit is approximately 1,000 square feet. This is about 750 square feet, Unit 8A, and then Unit 8B is 430 square feet. Whether the bedroom conversion was permitted or not, this occurred 43 years ago, and no complaints were received on the property until 2014. The dimensions of the original garage, which is right here, this bedroom area, is approximately 9 feet in width and 16 feet in depth. The minimum dimensions under our current code for a 1-car garage is 12 feet by 20 feet. So if the city were to require the owner to convert this back to a garage, it would not be practical for parking. Just show you some pictures of the bedroom. There's actually, you can just faintly see a cut here in the siding, which I'm guessing was one of the original walls of the garage. So it would have been just right in this area. And then this is the interior. This is the bedroom in question. The applicant, it was one of the questions was whether there was this bedroom was fit to structurally fit to actually be habitable, and so the applicant engaged the services of a structural engineer to look at the structure of the entire unit and find out whether it's structurally sound. The structural engineer concluded that the bedroom bearing walls make use of the foundation that was created for the entire building, and indicated that removing that front wall portion to reestablish the garage would actually weaken the structure. So then if we are considering approval of this bedroom, we're of course looking at whether the entire property and this project meet the parking requirements. So each of the units, Unit 8 and Unit 8A require 2 parking spaces, and Unit 8B require 1 parking space. And then for all 3 units, there's a guest parking space that's required. So there's a total of 6 parking spaces required to be provided on this property to meet the parking requirement for what they've got out there. So on this plan, they're showing 2 spaces here and 3 spaces over here. This carport is attached to the main unit. The main unit is allowed to have a tandem space behind it, and there's room up here right behind for a 6th parking space. And so the parking requirements are met for the proposed project. The conversion of the garage at Unit 8A, again, was done 43 years ago with no complaints generated until the last year. The property can accommodate all required parking for the units, and the removal of the bedroom will actually weaken the structural integrity of the unit. Further, the dimensions of the original garage don't meet the current minimum parking dimensions in our municipal codes, and simply cars won't fit in it unless they're motorcycles or smart cars or very, very compact cars. As part of this approval, the project will be conditioned to require the paving of all parking spaces and repairs as necessary to the unit. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving the special use permit to allow the expansion of the non-conforming use for the conversion of the garage area to a bedroom at Unit 8A. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? No questions? Go ahead, Mr. Jenkins.
Excuse me, Susie, did this come to the planning department because of this or some other issue?
There was a code enforcement complaint about, I believe it was auto repair, and then either overcrowding or an illegal construction going on.
There was ongoing illegal construction, or?
I don't believe
what?
it was ongoing. It was a complaint that included many different things. And then when our code enforcement officer went out there, there were several issues that they looked at that questioned whether they were legal or not legal. We got the assessor's records and were able to kind of
I see.
Reconstruct the construction history of the property.
But this goes back some 42, 43 years before Watsonville ever envisioned having this territory in its corporate limits. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Nick?
Yeah, so when this was done, it was in county jurisdiction, correct?
Yes.
So I just don't really understand, after annexing that area and bringing it into the city all these years later, why it's coming before us. How is it not grandfathered in somehow, or?
Well,
The units were grandfathered in, the 3 units were recognized. So there's 3 units recognized on the property. The issue is that there was a conversion, appears, of a garage that was done without permits. So things that are done without permits don't get grandfathered in. So that's why we're looking at it. And we believe that they are meeting the criteria at this stage. They'll make updates to the units to bring it to code. But at this stage, I think it's the best that we can do to move forward and clean it up.
Thank you.
Good.
Just to clarify, all the parking areas need to be paved? What was that you were talking about?
yeah, all parking surfaces are required to be paved.
And are they currently paved, or they need?
It looks like portions of them have been paved many years ago. A lot of it is a kind of dirt or pavement that's been failing.
So that will be a condition of
Yes.
any approval or of this? Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for staff? No? So I have one question. We're only going to require one covered carport for this whole site? Isn't the ordinance required per residence?
That's
minimum of
actually,
one?
well, it's existing. So we can't require any more covered parking as long as the minimum parking spaces are provided.
Because I think that was one of the really the big issues, is the amount of vehicles that this property had on it, correct?
It was auto repair was the issue that brought it to code enforcement's attention. They've taken care of that particular issue. So without auto repair, you don't have the additional cars in the area.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the applicant. Is the applicant present?
Good evening, Chair Gonzalez, Commissioners. It's good to be here. Good to see you. Some of you I hadn't met before, so I'm glad to put names to faces and vice versa. I'm Charlie Eady. I am representing the owners of the home, Mary Gonzalez and her two kids, Vicky, who's there, and Alex, who couldn't be here tonight. We are right at the edge of getting all this finalized, completed, and resolving all the issues. So we're just down to dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and this is one of the issues that we have to deal with, which is the anomaly of the non-conforming pre-existing legal 3 units, and the fact that we can't find a building permit from 1972. It's kind of interesting, just as a little aside on that. When I got into this, I'm down at the assessor's office looking at the records for this project, and you know, they go way back. These units were built, of course, in the 40s. And then this bedroom conversion showed up around 72. So I asked the assessor people there if I could look at my records for my own house, just out of curiosity, because I had been told by many people that the assessor's records aren't always necessarily complete. Anyway, so they brought me the records, and I looked at it, and we had done a second-story remodel on our house in Santa Cruz in 1995, and there's no permit in the assessor records. So I thought, well, this could happen, particularly back in the 70s. In my case, we were fortunate because the assessor at the time made the extra effort to call the city and say, was there a permit issued? And they said, they confirmed that it was, and then there was a little note in there. But, you know, records keeping was different back in the day, and the transfer of records and so forth was a little bit, you know, it was not clear where everything ended up. So the burden of proof is on us. We couldn't produce the proof of a building permit, so therefore we're here for you to allow us to complete our building permit, pull the building permits, do a little bit of work on the foundation and the other items that we're working with the staff on. And I'm happy to say that everything's pretty well worked out at this point. So this is one thing we just need to get done, and we'd appreciate your support on this. I would just like to remind you that really the issue for the commission is whether the approval of the legal non-conforming use intensification, i.e. the bedroom that's been there 43 years, will adversely affect the adjacent properties. Personally, I don't think, and the staff recommendation also confirms that there doesn't appear to be any way that this would be having an adverse effect. It's been there for a long time. The problems that arose with the code enforcement have long been since addressed. So we'd just like to get this done and hopefully not come back again. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Good, Jenny.
Is this place owner occupied, or is it all tenants?
There are 3 rental units.
3 rental units. How will the owner ensure that the property doesn't have the same issues as in the past, such as fixing cars or?
Yeah, well, I think it's safe to say that after going through this process, the owners are more than ready to be super diligent. There was a change in ownership. Technically, the father owned the property and then he passed. So they've been in a transition period. They've been since I've been involved with this, the Gonzalez family has been very attentive, responsive. They've done everything the city has asked them to do and that I've asked them to do. So, you know, it's obviously like everything else we do in a civil society. We rely on people to meet the terms of the laws and their conditions, their use permit, and I certainly can't imagine there being any problems with this in the future.
Any further questions for the applicant? Would you like to speak?
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to speak because I have a big mouth, and I don't mean to offend anybody if I start all over again. The gentleman that we rented the house to, there was 3 single men. They were fixing cars outside of the house without us knowing. The city sent them letters to steeze that. You know when we were informed? When we got a registered letter to our house that they were fixing cars. They had sent these people and they had gone on the property to check all this stuff out, but not once did we get a letter saying that these guys were fixing cars. So I would recommend that if you have an issue with one of the property owners, to send them the letter. I would have stopped this a long time ago if I would have gotten a letter and known about it. But I didn't. I guess apparently the city takes care of the stuff with the people that are doing it and living on the property. But how can I fix something I don't know that's broken? Because once we found out and we got that registered letter that the property was what it was being used for, believe me, I had to go a lot of measures to take these people out, and not because they just wouldn't cease. They would not cease, fixing cars or doing things. And luckily, I had some neighbors out there that every time they started working on cars, here I'd go. But that's the only way that we find out. And it's not that, I hate to be a nosy landowner, always checking up on them every week. But it looked like that's what we had to do with these people. But like Charlie says, unfortunately, we had to evict them because they weren't listening, and we want to comply with all the records of what the city tells us. But, we've been here. Mom and Dad bought their house on Manfrey Road in 1954. I was born there. We've been here forever. And it's not like we're going to go away soon. I already bought my plot out there along with my dad. So, as long as we know that there's something wrong with our property, by all means, we will fix it. But we'd like to know about it first before it gets down to this business. And yeah, I was kind of upset with the city and the court, the ordinance people, because when they did come on the property, I was in the impression it was just to look that we fixed the problem on fixing the cars. No, they went in and they inspected every building. I hadn't even told the renters yet that they were coming. So that kind of threw me off when they had gone into the houses and were doing all this inspection, and I didn't know about that either. But you know what? I'm not sad about it because there was some ordinance that we did have to fix, and by all means, Mom had to, we put out a lot of money to fix all the codes and all the stuff that we needed to fix in order to get to this point. And by all means, anybody's welcome to go out and take a look and see that we have. And as far as the driveway, we had, about a year ago, we had PG&E came by and they said that we had a leak in the gas. So we had to tear up the driveway, which we haven't been able to fix because we've been putting all this other money into everything else to get that fixed. That's the last on our list. It's not a big hole or something, but the people need the gas, and we had to tear up the driveway in order to get there. We just haven't had a chance to do anything else, but that is on the project, is to finish repaving the driveway the way it was. I just don't know how we're going to do that because we have to figure out where the lines of the gas is, where they fixed it, because it's going across the parking lot. If it breaks again, we're going to have a problem. So I don't know just yet what we're going to do with that. Okay? Any other questions? And I'm not here to be a big B. I just want you to know that, if there's something wrong, please let the owners know, That's where I would recommend, being started, is let the owners know what's happening. Because like I said, these people had gotten 3 letters, somebody had went out there and talked to them, and we didn't know anything about it. So.
Any questions for the applicant?
Isn't it part of the recommendations that they get paved?
That's
Or
part of one of the
Yes.
conditions.
And like I said, we'll be doing that just as soon as we get a chance. Right now, we're just trying to get all this stuff done. If that's one of the requirements that you gave me a timeline to do, as soon as we get that, get the whole thing, rest of the stuff situated, we'll go ahead and do that. By all means, you have my word on that. Like I said, we're law-abiding citizens. We just want to get past this, and we're not going away anywhere. So.
Great, thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Okay, moving on. Commissioners' discussion?
Public hearing.
Oh, sorry, okay. Public hearing. I keep jumping that part for some reason. But let's open up the public hearing now, the item on the agenda. Seeing none, public hearing's closed. Go ahead and move on to commissioner discussion. Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move we approve the special use, I guess it's a special use permit that we're.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Adopt
clear
resolution
clear
for
up,
notification.
clear up all these uncertainties and with the recommendation that the paving and other conditions posed by the staff be completed in a timely fashion. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Second, Jenny, roll call.
Corley?
Yes.
Jenkins?
Yes.
Cammer?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Sarmiento?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes. Good evening, folks. Here we go. Item 6.4, a public hearing to consider an application for a special use permit with design review and major variance to allow the construction of a 4-story, 75-room hotel with alcohol sales, including a height modification variance to allow the tower features at 1 Western Drive, filed by Union West Builders. Applicant on behalf of AKS Hospitalities, LLC, Calimicha Palete. Property owner, and a mitigated negative declaration has been prepared for this project in accordance with the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act. Staff presentation.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I'm Kurt Overmeyer. I'm the Economic Development Manager here at the city. And you don't usually get to hear from me, but since Keith has been our Acting Community Development Director and has so many extra duties, I got some extra duties too. So I'm also part-time planner, I guess. So what we're here to talk about is a proposed hotel on the location that's now the National 9 Motel. It's a half-acre site. The existing use is an 18-room hotel, and recently they had a fire, so 2 of those rooms are not in service. It's zoned thoroughfare commercial. A hotel is allowed in the CT zone with a use permit, and this is obviously the gateway to downtown is right at the point that Freedom and Main merge. It's just set back a little bit behind the restaurant. So this is a photograph of the site, what it looks like right now. And then I want to show you what's across the street. That's the St. Patrick's Church. So what the proposal is a La Quinta Inn. La Quinta is a business class hotel, very high quality. They're designed for primarily a business traveler. It's a 4-story property with 75 rooms. It'll be 75,004 square feet with podium parking. The parking will actually be underneath the structure, but on the ground level. It'll have a small conference facility, an indoor pool. They'll have a happy hour cocktail service for guests. There will not be a restaurant. The project will provide new rooms for existing business and the tourist trade. So this is, as you can see, the first floor and the parking. I'm going to show you a little bit more about that in a second. And you can see there's circulation, and there actually are 84 parking spaces available using a nifty trick that we're going to show you in a minute. So this is the elevations. So the rear and side setbacks are consistent with a 10-foot rear setback adjacent to residential and a 2-foot side yard where none is required. The front yard setback is 15 feet, which is consistent with zoning, and the rear setback is 10 feet, also consistent with zoning, and no side yard setbacks are required. The hotel will have the happy hours we discussed earlier. That requires a special use permit. Actually, it should say administrative use permit, but it requires a use permit. It's a Type 70 permit. What a Type 70 permit is a permit that is only for hotels. It's primarily for business class and extended stay properties, and it allows hotels to have a happy hour type service for their guests. You'll see there are a lot of companies, including Embassy Suites and Courtyard by Marriott, that are currently advertising this amenity. The service is allowed only for registered guests, and the cost of alcohol is included in the room rate. It's very similar to the Type 41 beer and wine permit and would not require separation requirements. This property also will require variance for height. It's in the CT zoning, which allows a 35-foot maximum or average roofline height. The downtown architectural guidelines allow for a 45-foot height. This area is subject to the adopted architectural guidelines. The proposed median roof line is 44 feet. There are tower features that are designed to break up the architectural elements of the building. The center feature, the tower in the very front, right in the middle of the property, is 70 feet tall, though there are 5 additional towers that are 54 feet tall. And the variance is to allow the tower features that improve the architectural design. So this is to give you an idea of what that looks like. This top tower is 75 feet. The roof line that goes all the way around the building here is 44 feet, and then the smaller tower features are 54 feet. We had a lot of questions about how that compared to St. Patrick's Church. So the top of St. Patrick's Church, its roof line is 46 feet, so a little bit taller. I'm not sure what you'd call this, but right below the steeple is 54 feet, so exactly the same height as those other tower features. And then the top of the steeple is roughly 130 feet. We're not exactly sure because it wasn't included in the plans when they rebuilt after the earthquake, that maximum height, but just by measuring how tall the 54 feet is in that known point and extrapolating out, it's around 130 feet. So had a traffic analysis completed as part of the mitigated neg deck. The traffic study showed that there were 40 morning peak hour trips added and 45 evening peak hour trips. All the adjacent intersections that were studied are at a level of service of C, and the traffic study concludes that this will not result in a reduction of level of service at any of those intersections, and they'll all be maintained at the LOS of C. The city standard for a level of service is D, so it's much better than the city's standard. The parking required is for the 75 rooms is 75 spaces plus 5 spaces for staff. That would result in 80 required spaces. The proposal shows 84 spaces available. They're using a mechanized parking system so that they can have that number of spaces within the footprint of the building. And this is also consistent with the ordinance. And just to give you a little idea of how that works, this is what the mechanized parking system would look like. So we went through a mitigated neg deck. That was circulated on March 5th for review. The review ended yesterday, April 6th. We received one comment from the Air District, and you should have in your packet that letter from the Air District. It looks like this for those of you up on the DS. And as part of this, we're adjusting the mitigation measures to meet what the Air District is asking. So On mitigation measure 1, which is item 11G, require during construction that they post a visible sign with a telephone number to contact for dust complaints, and the person will respond to the complaints and take corrective action within 48 hours, and also the phone number for the Monterey Bay Unified Air Pollution Control District will also be posted. And then in addition to that, under mitigation, this isn't a mitigation measure, but a condition, number 45 will require that they comply with the 2013 California Green Building Standards. And we believe that meets all of the comments that were provided by the Air District. So hard to see on the pictures that we're showing you, but you will see this. One of the environmental conditions is that they have a impervious surface mitigations in place. So when water runs off of the building, that water gets cleaned up before it goes into our storm drain system. So all of the runoff will be directed into a rain garden that will be situated around the perimeter of the property. The rain garden is designed to filter the water and to put it in a nearly potable condition before it even goes into the storm drain. The home ownership or the hotel ownership is required to maintain the rain garden, and they must meet our current best practices for the design and implementation of that rain garden system. So with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the mitigated negative declaration, variance, and special use permit with design review to allow the construction of a 4-story hotel with a height modification. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Jenny.
I'm just curious why a hotel that has 75 rooms is serving alcohol but no food. Don't they typically have a restaurant or?
Typically, a full-service hotel requires about 200 rooms to be able to make it economically feasible. In this case, it's not a full-service hotel. They do have some services, but not all the services you would expect at some place.
Even in smaller hotels, I've seen that they do have at least some,
Yeah, this does not have a kitchen, so it does not have a restaurant, and it's kind of a unique license type. It's a type 70, which is specifically associated with hotels, and so it doesn't have they don't sell to the public. It's a much different application, and it doesn't require separation requirements based on our interpretation of the ordinance. So it's like a type 41, but it doesn't require that. It's basically hotel related, and I let the applicant explain it in a little bit more detail, but it's a different license type than ones that we usually deal with.
It's not like a bar, in other words. It's not something that will be open to the general public. It'll only be open to guests of the hotel.
right, and then they get hungry and get in their cars and drive to a restaurant.
Walk across the street.
Well, hopefully they go to Yessy's across the street.
Fortunately, there is a hotel right across the street, or a restaurant right across the street, and the Super Taqueria across the street from that as well.
So they'll cater to the hotel?
Yeah.
Okay.
That all your questions? That's it?
I'm done.
Okay, Marty?
I see in this second floor plan, it says food prep. What is that?
The food prep is for their continental breakfast.
My next question, are they going to be, has the carbon fund been approved yet?
Has been, but it doesn't become effective until September.
Okay. It's going to take me a second to read my writing, so continue.
Anybody else, any questions?
Okay, I figured it out. How many handicap spaces are required for a project like this? I see there's only 3 in there.
Yeah, there are 3, and our building official says that meets the requirement.
It's basically 1 per 25, so they're consistent.
Any other questions?
Are you sure? Yeah. So I see in attachment 2, page 5, it says there's a meeting room. How many people does that meeting room hold?
That's a question for the applicant.
Okay. Okay.
A couple more now.
Go ahead, yeah.
The backside of the building, is that going to be overlooking the residence right behind it?
It'll be, adjacent to the apartment complex, yes.
So like the fourth floor would be looking into someone's backyard?
Into an apartment complex, not into someone's backyard.
And then also, is this project going to have solar?
It's not in their current proposal, but we have had some discussions, and I know that they're considering that.
Because I know one of the roof plans show solar on it. We don't know that yet.
Let the applicants respond.
Any other questions for staff?
I'm unclear as to, is there a space at the entrance to the hotel where cars can come up and guests can register, or will that be all done in the interior of on the first floor of the hotel?
It'll be inside.
Okay.
Questions? None? I have a few. In regards to the parking, for employees, they're only required to have 5?
That is the city requirement, yes.
Yes.
And then the rest of the employees will have to park on the street?
Well, they're
Because, I mean, with 75 rooms, I think they're going to have more than 5 employees, right? I imagine.
They will have more than 5 employees, but I don't think they'll exceed that 5 employees at one time. And hotels typically aren't full all of the time either.
Okay. On the height requirement for the variance, is this solely for the advertisement part of the building? They want that tower?
No, it's to break up the architecture.
It's just break up the architecture? Otherwise, it's not even required. It can be, we don't need to give that height variance. We can maintain it at 54?
It's still a variance.
It's still a variance.
variance
It's
for the
still a
54?
variance. Yeah, the district allows 35, the CT. It's in a downtown guideline area that encourages up to 45. So the 44 is consistent with the downtown guidelines, but that's not part of the ordinance. So it is a request for the whole building is 1 story higher.
Well, I just have an issue with that tower and that's height. For that location and around the residential areas, I just think it's could be, they're not necessary really. And that's why I was asking that. Is that tower, besides breaking up the architectural, is it main use just for its signage?
Well, there's obviously a sign on there, but it's not a very dramatically large sign. But I'm
Would that
sure
meet our
that's
sign ordinance?
that having a attractive building is an important aspect of what the applicant's trying to accomplish.
The sign ordinance would be met quite easily in regards to the size of the signs. So it's basically the height of the element there. This is at the front of the building, so it's away from the residential area. It's the closest. It's when you look at architectural features, marking a corner is really important to give it a sense of presence. And being that this is at the front end, at the gateway, we feel it's really an element that provides, if you don't have that, you'll just have the same element going throughout the project. So we felt that it provides a good architectural statement.
And I have a question on the initial study for the aesthetics. And that says, paragraph B, substantially damaging scenic resources, including but not limited to trees, rock outcropping, and historic buildings within a state scenic highway. And it says that there is no scenic resources in the vicinity of the proposed project site that impacts. Now, isn't that 152 right in front of what's going to be?
It's not a scenic highway, though.
It's not a scenic highway?
No, Highway 1 is designated as a scenic highway. Highway 150.
Main Street wouldn't be considered a historical
That's not a historic,
site?
Mm-mm.
No.
It's not defined. The only defined historic highway is Highway 1.
Okay. And the reason I asked this question is because as residents in that area, this building's gonna go up and some folks might lose their sight of downtown Main Street. So, and that's a concern for me. Any other questions?
No, go ahead, really.
I just had a quick question. Is there parking allowed along those two streets, Western and Hyde?
Yeah, it's a public street.
Public street, and there's
Yeah.
parking along.
Parking
in
is
there.
allowed along the public
Yeah, okay.
street.
Okay, thank you.
And to piggyback, I'm seeing on attachment 3, page 37, it says, though the proposed on-site parking will be adequate to meet city parking requirements, an evaluation of available on-street parking was completed. So it goes on to say that there are approximately 13 on-street parking spaces. And I used to walk through that neighborhood 2 to 3 days a week to work. And there is no on-street parking. You know, the residents park on the street. And I'm wondering about this 5 spaces for employees in a hotel.
It's the standard requirement.
Yeah, but for a 75-room hotel, it just doesn't seem adequate to me. It really seems to be putting a big burden on the residents because the parking is, you know, they're competing with a large hotel. So that's something. And there's a couple other things I had. One of my questions was, and this may be a question for the applicant, would it be possible to have a photo of the neighborhood with the hotel superimposed in the planned location? Because seeing that, hotel, it's beautiful, but it's not in situ. And I think to be able to make evaluate this plan, it needs to be we need to see it in the area, how it's good to really, a photo is worth 1,000 words. We need to be able to see this hotel and its impact on the surrounding area.
I got one more too.
Okay, let me
Go ahead.
Mine will be quick and easy. Again, on the initial study of the narrative on attachment 3, page 15 of 105, it says that the building will be surrounded by commercial and industrial uses and will not adversely affect the day or night views of the area. What are we considering industrial use there in that area? I see commercial and residential.
It should say commercial and residential. That's an error.
Yeah, I kept going around the neighborhood and I didn't find no industrial, so.
Yeah, that would be an error.
So, as a residential, how will it not affect the day and night views of the area? Since this study was made with the idea of commercial and industrial use.
It wasn't made with the idea of commercial industrial use. It was just something that was overlooked in a cut and paste.
No, it still doesn't. It still
be
will.
part of a study, right?
Right. It still does not. I mean, it's a staff study.
Mm-hmm.
And our interpretation basically is that this will be it's at the foot of downtown, and it will not, it's an existing hotel. What you're proposing is a similar hotel use, will not generate significantly more traffic than the existing hotel does. So, it will be somewhat larger, but again, it's the beginning of a downtown. You have this same thing happening throughout downtown, and it's a vision of downtown. You're asking, what is a vision? We're looking for higher density, larger buildings downtown. And this is, again, it's an investment. It's people that are willing to put an investment in the community. It is as significant importance to recognize potential investments as you move forward and what can you move forward with in the downtown. And so that's when you're looking at somebody that's willing to invest in the community, you have to give it serious consideration.
Marty, you had a question.
With that being said, what kind of community outreach did the applicant do?
Well, you probably should ask them that, but we did send out, if you look back at, let me get back there. So we did notify everyone that fits within this circle here.
Okay. That being said, you know, this project is, like Keith said, a stepping stone for downtown. We probably should have done some community meetings on this before it got this far to really get the input of the community. So I'm a little disappointed that we didn't do any of that here. We didn't do any, right?
That is accurate.
Okay.
But the reason that we didn't, it was because the applicant needed to move forward with the construction in order to meet their financing requirements. And the community meetings would have added months to that process, and we were unable to meet that timeline.
Okay.
Jenny?
Yes, I also wanted to find out how many jobs is this hotel increasing?
I would let the applicants do their presentation.
You had a question? I have one more. In regards to this conference room and the Type 70 license, the guests only, how is this conference room going to be rented out to non-guests? Is
I'd
it then the
also
Type
let-
70 license going to be utilized in the rental of the conference room to non-guests?
Let the applicants plan. Did they have the business plan? That would be a good question for applicants to
Yeah, but this would
respond
be
to.
regarding to our alcohol ordinance, right? This falls under our alcohol ordinance.
Our alcohol ordinance,
For the Type 70.
The Type 70 doesn't really, it's not listed in any of our provisions. So we had to make an interpretation, and it really does not fall under what our current requirements have. So it's an unusual circumstance. You know? And again, it's only for registered guests. It's not something open to the public. So it's a much different, and I would let the applicants explain it.
And the ABC rules for Type 70 permit require that the guests that are served alcohol be transient guests, which means that they have to be renting an overnight accommodation there.
Any other questions? No? Mm-hmm. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on. Let me find my agenda here. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move in to the applicant's presentation. Is the applicant present?
Good evening, council members. My name is Dana Henderson. I'm the president of Union West Builders. I thank you very much for your time this evening and the staff's presentation. What we intend to do is actually develop a 75-room hotel at the downtown corridor, where this is a socially and environmentally responsible project. You had mentioned about solar. We will both have solar electric and solar thermal. This is actually a LEED registered project, so it will actually be higher than CalGreen and the regular ability for the city. We actually are going to be producing about 15 jobs for full-time, 4 jobs for part-time. You had some questions regarding the parking for employees. The parking for employees is 5 at this time. We also have the 4 that's more than what's required for the guests. We also have bicycle racks, and we also have showers for the employees should they choose to use alternate transportation to work. It is, regarding the Type 70 license, it is actually an alcohol license that's strictly for hotels. It allows you to have a bar for transient guests only and bar carts for the meeting rooms. For the meeting rooms, you had mentioned about the service of alcohol to people that would be coming in from outside. It is only for transient guests that are in the hotel. For the 4th floor for our meeting room, it actually comes with the rooms that are on the 4th floor. So it actually takes and as a place for them to go afterwards. For our kitchen, it is only for breakfast service only, and we have discussed with Yesie's and other restaurants in town that will support the meeting room should there be other places that need to bring food in for the meetings. Okay, did you want to read the letter from the people?
I think, was there any other questions that we did not address?
What was the size of the conference rooms?
I have,
Capacity?
there's 3 actual conference rooms. There's one on the first floor that is a 50-person conference room. On the second floor, we have 2 rooms. One is a boardroom for local businesses to be able to have their annual meetings and things of that nature. That's a 25-person room. Next door to that is another 25-person room that can be used. And on the 4th floor, we have a 60-person room that can be used for quinceañeras, can be used for other events, that's actually covered by a skylight that actually has open views to the sky. So that is the top of the 4th floor.
So let me have this, you just mentioned an entertainment. You're planning to have an entertainment?
No. What I mean is that when you're inside the hotel, if you're having a conference or if they want to have a board meeting where they serve lunch, that would all be serviced by outside caterers, outside restaurants, things of that nature. That's how we support those people.
Yeah, because you mentioned a quinceañera. That's entertainment.
Yeah, that's entertainment, correct, on the 4th floor, but it would not be something that the hotel would do the party planning for. The hotel would not be doing the food or anything else of that nature. It would strictly be, we would be able to host the party for them.
In other words, it'd be a private event. It's not something we're gonna advertise to sell tickets for or have a concert. If you're
But
having a
then there
family-
wouldn't be nobody from, I guess you would have to require people to stay there to be?
That is correct. Yes, it comes with the rooms on the 4th floor. Due to the fact if you have a party on the 4th floor, the impact zone, you can't have people walking through the party to get to their room. So those rooms actually come as part of that 4th floor lobby.
So with that being said, I got a quick question of staff.
Most definitely.
Would that require them to get an entertainment permit?
If it had live entertainment, yeah.
Like a DJ?
I mean, if that's what we need, that would be more than happy to accommodate that with the city. That would be something that we could definitely work into our business plan, that if we are having live entertainment as part of a party or part of as an event that rents inside the hotel, I'd be more than happy to come to the city to make sure that we have the requisite permits for that.
I just want to clarify that, so basically, and when you said 50 people can go in the room on the 1st floor, you actually mean the 2nd floor, correct?
I'm sorry, yes, you are correct. Yes, the 2nd floor is, for us, is the actual 1st floor of the hotel.
Okay.
It is actually a podium deck with the parking on the ground level.
Okay, and so are those, all of those conference rooms, are they only for hotel guests?
Yes, they are, or local nonprofits, or the Rotary Club, people of that type that come in and use them on a business basis during the day.
So it is allowable in your business plan for people in the community as
Oh, yeah.
to use
to use those.
all 3 floors or just the 3rd floor?
All 3 floors. The only problem is with the 4th floor, it does impact rooms. So that would be something we would have to work out where it would have a 4 o'clock cutoff or some time that would cut off that would preclude the guests from getting to their rooms, which happen to actually pass through the lobby.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Good.
Now, this is the best place to view the 4th of July parade, which is a huge event in Watsonville. But I guess it's not going to be possible to rent just those rooms to look at the parade, or will it be possible if you're staying there?
Yeah, absolutely. All the rooms that are on the front are actually suites So they actually hold more than one guest. So they would be more than rentable, and they have large windows that face down Main Street. Also on the second floor, we also have a deck that's right on the front of the property that would be a great place to view the parade.
Excellent. Thank
Good.
you.
You ready, Nick?
Yeah. So this model that you have for the proposed hotel here is this floor model common in La Quinta Inns? Because that's a franchise, right?
It is correct. It is a franchise, and we are not a standard as far as the building exterior goes, just due to the shape of our lot. But we are what we call a La Quinta standard for the lobby as well as all guest rooms. All guest rooms are considered, if you go into any La Quinta, they will be furnished the same, they will be outfitted the same. Everything is the same.
And the layout of your conference rooms, that's
exactly
pretty
correct.
common.
Yeah, they're very common. Our stairways, our elevators, all of it is considered standard for La Quinta hotels.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jenkins.
Was there ever any consideration of sort of a subterranean garage?
We have two issues with putting in a subterranean garage. If we were to put the garage underneath, first of all, we're at the bottom of the hill. So actually the hotel, when it's level from front to back, the back of the hotel is actually 4 feet into the ground. It is actually a retaining wall for the back of the thing due to the elevation change on that actual street. So from grade, my hotel is shorter from the back than it is from the front. So when it allowed us to take and put in a serpentine or a type of parking structure, I don't have the width. I can't go wide enough to be able to have people pull into a parking space and pull out of a parking space with it sloping down. That's why we came up with the lifts, which are used in several hotels throughout San Francisco and through Oakland. We've used them in many different projects, and it allows you to basically double your parking count. And they are what they call self-assisted parking. So basically, you don't have to have a valet park. You as an individual can come in and park without any worry whatsoever on that parking lift. When you exit that parking lift, it will automatically, if somebody else pulls up, it will adjust itself to make sure that a second parking space is available.
It's also of interest that this is partially underground as they're proposing the parking. If you looked at that dot, the little thing, the grade level is grade, and so when they lower it, those spaces are below grade.
Okay, so
this is an easy, a unique way to do below ground parking without the expense of creating a whole floor and everything else related to it. So this does integrate some below grade parking.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, the easiest way to explain it is just like how you would have a pit underneath an elevator to be able to hold the mechanics. We have pits underneath all the parking spaces that allow it to hold that extra vehicle.
Any other questions? Marty?
Yes. Building it.
Yes.
Are you going to be using local labor?
I most definitely am. I have actually 3 of my contractors are local. My electrician is local here to Watsonville. I've worked with him on several projects throughout the Central Coast. I also have my drywall person who is actually local. My excavation contractor is actually local. I'm actually using granite rock for all my other types of engineering for the streets and for sidewalks. All of that is local labor, absolutely.
And then my other question with this serving alcohol, beer and wine.
Yes.
We have started requiring establishments to have security cameras where they serve alcohol. Would that be an issue?
No, not at all. We actually will have security cameras that will be in the parking structure that will be monitored. We also will have security cameras in the lobby and areas of that nature. I cannot put security cameras in the guest room or in the hallways in the back of the building just due to privacy rights. So, but absolutely, any of the public spaces that are in the lobby or underneath will be fully monitored. That is correct.
Then going back to the serving of alcohol, are you guys going to be providing any kind of snacks to go with it?
Yes, we will be able to have what they call a limited appetizer menu, but it is not anything that's cooked. Basically, it'll be peanuts, chips, things of that nature.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jenny.
You mentioned that you would have some other events, such as a quinceañera.
Correct.
Now, how would you ensure that the guests are not consuming alcohol, and how would you monitor that and supervise it?
There's two ways to take and supervise that. Most of the time, if it is actually underage and an underage party, you just don't serve alcohol at all. If it actually is the adults want alcohol, what they would end up having to do is come down to the bar and enjoy their alcohol downstairs if it is a minor event like a quinceañera or a birthday party for somebody under 21.
Okay.
And in all cases, they're guests of the hotel.
Yes, they are all guests of the hotel. Only time that it may be different is in a meeting room if it's like the Rotary Club and they want to have a lunch plate. But again, that would come from somebody outside.
Nick?
Generally, what is your demographic? Who stays at La Quinta Inn? What's your price point compared to other hotels that are currently here?
We are very much in line with the Holiday Inn Express. We are more business-centric than the Holiday Inn Express. They are more of a family traveler. Where we are here, that's why we have meeting rooms. We have a small little store that's inside where you can buy the replenishment toothbrush. You can buy the extra things that you may need. And it's for the person that comes down for a business meeting or comes in the area for business for one of the businesses in town. That is our main core calling.
Thank you.
Jenny, go ahead, Jenny.
Sorry. Sort of following up on the commissioner's question here. So who is that business person who will be traveling and staying in Watsonville?
Most likely, I can't speak for all businesses, but it's somebody that's coming for the biodiesel plant. Maybe they're selling biodiesel throughout the state and they're coming back to the home base. It could be, I know a lot of people from Granite. Granite works all over the state. When they come back for their meetings, they need a place to stay. Those would be the type of corporate clients that we would expect.
To follow up with the alcohol, it says that the beverages cannot be given away to guests, and the price of beverages must be included in the price of the overnight transient occupancy accommodation. So how is that going to be, how would that be worked out, for example, if there's a party upstairs, and how does that work?
Basically, what they are is if the party is upstairs on the 4th floor, they have rented rooms around that party. So that would make it included in that type of package, basically, they can provide alcohol to those individuals. If you are down in the bar, how it actually works out is the bar receipts are part of the occupancy. So in other words, if I sell $100,000 in alcohol in a month, that is part of the TOT tax. That is part of a transient occupancy tax that actually is part of the room rate. In other words, in my entire property, if I rent a room, if I serve alcohol, it's just like I can't charge for breakfast. It's included in the room rate. You can charge them per glass or you can charge them per beer, but that is all considered part of a room rate as far as the city is concerned for taxes.
So you're going to be charging the guests extra for the beer and wine?
No.
Okay, then let me go back and let's go back to the question she just asked.
Okay.
In your meeting rooms,
Yes.
I rent one out. I'm not staying at your hotel.
But you were a guest of the hotel.
Is that a gray area?
That would be a different circumstance, and they'd be required to get the temporary liquor license
That's
to,
what-
for that event.
So for every event they have that's not involved in the hotel, they're going to have to get a liquor license.
That is correct.
Okay.
That's standard practice for hotels that use this type of license. That's why this license was specifically created for the hotel industry. We're not trying to open up a disco or anything like that. We just, if you come in, we have manager's reception hour. We want you to enjoy a cocktail or two, not get plastered. We're not trying to open up a nightclub or anything like that in this neighborhood. We want you to be able to enjoy a glass of wine or a beer, and that's about it.
Well, we may need a disco.
Yeah, I'll open it somewhere else for you, wherever you'd like.
Oh, okay. As long as that's agreed.
Yep, there you go.
Nick.
Will you allow local businesses to provide advertising materials in your lobby?
Let me explain to you how it works. We actually have digital signage boards. We also have a digital concierge. The digital concierge actually takes and gives you flight information at the local airports. It also gives you local restaurants that are around you. It also gives you where the DMV is located or where city offices are located. All of that is in the digital concierge, and it is not charged to any of the local businesses. So in other words, it's just like Google Maps. If I go into Google Maps and I type in tacos near me, it's going to show every taco restaurant that's around me. That's how the digital concierge works. So it actually will draw people out to the community in restaurants, services, all city services, anything of that nature will be available on a digital signage board.
Go ahead,
One of the things I also like to see is all your staff, if you're serving alcohol, have leads training. So that will be one of the recommendations that hopefully we make on this, is that all your staff that serves alcohol has leads training also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Ideally, when do you want to break ground?
I'm hoping I can break ground May 1st. I actually wanted to break ground April 1st, but we just didn't make it. My whole thing is not when I break ground. My whole thing is when I can open. I'm unable to open by the Super Bowl. I'm just afraid I cannot make that date for the city. But I do definitely want to open before the next summer rush. That will definitely take, and it's basically a May 1st opening is what we require.
I have one final question, and it's going to go
sorry.
back to my Commissioner Marty's point of why didn't we go out to the community and seek input from the residents around your neighborhood?
I believe I did do outreach to the community. I did knock on all the doors of the neighbors. I've put a sign out, and we've also put out signs in the hotel lobby. I've talked to several of the neighbors that have come to the sign, come to the hotel. We've been working on this for probably at least 3 months at this point, and I know I have talked to at least 50 people in the area. I've talked to Yessie at the Yessie's restaurant. I've talked to Mario at the fish house. I've talked to a lot of people in the community. I've talked to all the property owners in the area. I have made myself available to anybody that wants to know about the project.
Can I just point out something? So looking at the map, the site and vicinity map, which has the 300-foot buffer zone, if you look at that area that's bordered by Freedom Boulevard,
Yes.
Main Street, 9th Street, and down along Brennan. Just a rough estimate is that the percentage of that area that is residential is about 85%.
That's correct.
And so to piggyback on what you were saying, did you reach out specifically? Did you go door to door
I most
to
certainly
neighbors?
did.
How many neighbors did you talk to? What was the feeling from those neighbors?
I talked to about 35 people locally. A lot of them are renters. The actual portion that's actually homeowners in the area is not 85%. It's a lot less. The apartment complex behind us, to the left of it, I've talked to all those people. The way our hotel is situated is we are actually pulled forward from the neighborhood. So half of the hotel does not actually impact neighbors. It actually goes down 6th Street on the left, and it goes down the other street behind Yessie's on the right. The tower is actually lined up with the front of that street across the park. So that's why the tower doesn't have any shading impact on any neighbors. It shades the street and it shades the redwood trees on the other side. The apartment complex that's behind us is 2 stories tall, plus it's also 5 feet higher because of the elevation of the ground than the hotel in the back. So the way the sun goes in the east to west, it actually takes and doesn't shade those areas. The actual neighbor that I talked to that owned the house on 7th Street on the corner of 7th and Hyde, he was very supportive of it. He owns that house and the house that's behind it, but he is lined up more with the apartment complex. He is not lined up with the hotel.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? No?
I have
Yes,
one.
more.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you're aware, but we got a petition.
Yes, I am
from
very well aware.
students.
Yes.
Students, housing people.
Yes.
It's about 80-something people signed it.
Correct.
Against it.
Yes.
So that tells me a lot. I haven't looked to see where they're located at yet, but I go back to my original question that I asked staff about is what type of outreach did we do here?
Okay, please.
I guess what I was saying, instead of going door to door, is maybe putting some flyers out and holding the meeting and having the residents come in and seeing what you're trying to present here instead of finding out through this meeting what you're trying to do.
I apologize to the residents if they did not feel that I made that effort, but I believe that we definitely took and contacted all the people that were in our area of what the area we would impact. Obviously, I didn't go to the people that are all the way up on 9th, all the way out the street, because they're just not impacted by the hotel. I didn't take and contact the people that are over by America's Best Value because they honestly won't even see it. They're 1-story houses and they're behind another house. So it's in the 300-foot inclusion area. I believe that we talked to everybody that would be impacted by the hotel. And also, I don't know, I did read the petition, and I understand where some of the misgivings is in a restaurant that would impact local restaurants, or that we were going to be a bar where people were going to be coming in at all hours up till 2 a.m. And we talked with city staff, and we tried to alleviate the people that came in and talked to the city staff about that we actually did not have a restaurant and did not have a bar, but some people just didn't want to hear it.
We also had information posted in the lobby of the current hotel property and a informal breakdown of what we're trying to propose.
That'd probably be great for the people staying there, but not so much for the residents around there. I mean, they'd have to go inside the hotel to know there was something there.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess I'd just like to kind of correct you, because you said you don't have a bar, but you always refer back to the bar, that if you want a drink, you got to go to the bar?
Well,
So do you have a bar or do you not have a bar?
what I have is actually a bar, but it is not a bar open to the public, is how I should clarify that. I do not have a bar that's open to the public. You can't come.
That will not be open to the public.
Yeah, it will not be open to the public. That's correct. It is for hotel guests.
Well, with respect to the residents of the area, there were postings put up by the city within so many feet. How many inquiries came to the city, Keith and Susie and Kurt, as a result of the signage?
There have only been like 3, and then I got the petition on Thursday. So the petition was the first time I knew that there was some significant neighborhood opposition.
Okay, thank you.
And what time frame so what was the time frame that sign went up in front?
14 days in advance, and they've had their sign up at least 2 months.
So 14 days in advance, that sign, the big sign, the big
No,
poster
No,
sign?
no, their sign has been up for
My sign has been up for about 2 months.
2 months,
So
probably.
yours is the big one in
There's
front?
the big
Okay.
one with
Full
the
planning commission
picture of
sign at the
hotel.
front.
Okay.
Our legally required one's been up 14 days.
Okay, so, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. I've made every effort. I've had that large 4x5 sign out there in front of the hotel.
Okay.
Complete? Okay. Thank you.
Most definitely. Thank you very much for your folks' time.
We're going to go ahead and move on.
You'd just like to read 2 letters.
I received this email from, excuse me. Oh, and my name, by the way, is Kamalesh Patel. I know you had a little bit difficult time.
Oh, yeah,
with it.
sorry about that.
You're more than
Horrible
welcome to
name.
call me KP. Been called that my whole life. I got an email today from William J. Hansen from Pacific Coast Development. I am writing in support of the above referenced project. I view this project as another step towards the redevelopment of our downtown. I feel this project will greatly enhance the gateway to our downtown as well as offer visitors a choice in short-term lodging. The project provides a fresh architectural detail, contributing to the enhancement of our downtown experience. The projected TOT will contribute to the economics of the city and therefore benefit the citizens of our community. Thank you for your time, William J. Hansen. And I had a similar one. I'm going to let this speed up now from William O. as well as from Watsonville. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You should have both of those letters.
Yeah, I do. We all have those, am I correct? Yeah, we have those. Okay, we'd like to move on to a public hearing. Now is the time to hear from the public on regards to this item on the agenda. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Chuck Allen, KW Commercial here in Watsonville. I'm officed at 42 Brennan Street, and I would like to speak affirmatively to this project and make 3 points. 1 point, in the mid-90s, I also came before this Planning Commission and City Council to get an entitlement for a 95-room Red Roof Inn hotel, which we ultimately got and built. And I can tell you that way out on the highway, where there are no residents, I still had objections from a certain segment of the community. That it just seems like it's a trait of human nature to object to anything new. I'd like to give you 2 examples of what this means to our economics within our community. Yesterday, I hosted a lady who owns a major building in downtown Watsonville. First thing I did, I took her down to the city offices and met with Mr. Overmeyer. We had a great conversation about the building. That was to be the almost vacant 501 building at Westlake in Maine. This lady hadn't really been to Watsonville very much, and she certainly hadn't looked at the downtown area. We did a tour. We had dinner at Jalisco's. But the one thing that really, when I took her down to the end of Main Street and showed her the sign and showed her what is about to happen with this project, and as we talked over dinner, she said, you know, I can do something about my building also. And it gave her some real enthusiasm to really take hold and be a part of the improvements of our community, and also particularly their downtown community. Today, I hosted a person who is in Soquel. He has a technology company. This is the second tour that I've given him. I sell Watsonville like you do almost daily, but he's choosing downtown Watsonville. And it was largely because as I drove him down Main Street and I showed him the existing, I still call it the Cinderella motel, but what's about to happen there, he could visualize the complement to what we already have. And this is a man that's going to probably he'll take 4,000 square feet now, and he'll expand to another 4,000 square feet in about 3 years, and probably start with 10 employees. But it's a catalyst, and what you're about to decide on is a major catalyst to our community's economics, and I encourage you to vote yes. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Christine Hyde, and I am your neighbor to the north, and it's nice to meet you because, no, you haven't reached out to us. First time meeting him. Notice that we received was from your group, so thank you from the city. And I'm here to represent the owners of the Hyde Park Apartments, and we are, again, your neighbors to the north. Our number one obligation is to our tenants. My question is, how do we ensure the privacy of apartment tenants? And I appreciate the question that was asked earlier and then quickly moved on because the answer was not made. Yes, a 4-story apartment will look directly into the backyards of our tenants. And we have gardens and they sit outside, and so that is something that will directly affect them. Daylight, we're wondering about that. The sun will now no longer be able to go into their garden areas, a 4-story apartment building. I'm really concerned about the traffic and the parking especially. I am concerned that only 5 employee parking spaces is not enough. As was mentioned earlier, there's parking situations already there present, not enough parking for people in the area. And I'm concerned if Rotary Club rents out one of the rents out the meeting room, the party room, that's going to allow many people to come to the area and they need parking. So that's a major concern of mine. Also, what happens if someone is spending the night that has a U-Haul trailer behind them? That will not go into the garage. Or an oversized vehicle, something on top, that will not fit in the garage. I'm concerned about parking. And then the idea of having a party room. We've heard that, bar, party room. The other applicants that have come up previously have all said hours of operation. This is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. I think that really impacts the area around us. And I also wanted to ask about La Quinta, I know, is a dog-friendly hotel. Where will people be walking their dogs in this area? I envision going right around the neighborhood, taking their dogs, and right through our apartment area. So that's also a concern of mine. And I think I have answered. I need some answers to these. Oh, my last question. Will La Quinta be owned by the current owner, or will it be owned by La Quinta? Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Hal Hyde. I was born adjacent to this property in 1923, and that was my home for many years after that on Brennan Street. My grandfather owned this property as a part of a large nursery that he had here in Watsonville. The question here is basically not the specifics of this particular spot, but you as a planning commission what do you want, or what do the citizens of Watsonville want at the head of Main Street, in a halfway point between a major shopping area of the Target and that particular part, and the recovering part of the Main Street of Watsonville in this direction? And is this 4-story hotel what the people want and have not had a chance to speak to this question? Gentleman here spoke about meeting us, but as far as I know, was not tied into us at all. I received at post office box just last week this particular summons for this meeting, and I believe that the citizens of Watsonville really need to speak out on this particular spot as far as what should be there and where should it be. What should it be? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Shaz. I'm with the Pajaro Valley Chamber of Commerce and Agriculture. And I would just like to say that the Pajaro Valley Chamber of Commerce and Agriculture is in full support of the proposed La Quinta Hotel located on Western Drive in Watsonville. The 75-room hotel will be a major improvement to our downtown as opposed to the single-story National 9 that exists there now. It'll be an inviting place for businesses and travelers as well as vacationers to eat and stay in downtown Watsonville, thus increasing the tax revenue and supporting existing businesses and restaurants. There are several large corporations in the Pajaro Valley who are in need of larger meeting rooms for conferences and classes. The new La Quinta will provide the opportunity for businesses to host their meetings in a clean, professional location right here in Watsonville instead of taking their businesses out of town. La Quinta will be a beautiful and welcoming addition to the entrance of downtown Watsonville. The Pajaro Valley Chamber of Commerce and Agriculture supports the building of this new hotel, which we believe will be an extremely important part of the revitalization of downtown Watsonville. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas noches. Me llamo Jesús Ramírez de la calle 9. Tengo una pregunta para el señor de mi lado derecha. Usted fue y habló conmigo, me conoce mi cara. Dice usted que tocó en mi casa. No lo creo. Otra cosa, I do speak English, and they say it's our nature to say no. It is not true. We have a lot of facilities here that the businesses can use and give the money to them now, instead of bringing in another building, knocking down a perfectly good building that's there now, okay? The building that even's there has a swimming pool, and it doesn't even let it use to the community that we live there now. I remember back when I was younger, in 67, the swimming pool in that area was able to use, and not no more. Okay, they closed it down for a long time. Yes, there was fires, there was other things. Consider that there is a lot of gang-related things happening through all the neighborhoods, chasing from Salinas to Watsonville and all this other stuff, okay? The parking there is terrible. You can go head on that corner. There's not even a red stripe that you can't even block on that corner. My daughter is a new driver right now. They park RVs there, they park trailers there and stuff like that, almost going head on with the traffics and stuff like that because they blocked that intersection. When the 4th of July comes and we get people that want to park right there to go through there, so because they close the roads and they don't let you go into your neighborhood. You know, it's very difficult. So you got to wait for the parade to go through, okay? The parking every day is terrible. On garbage days that we got to park from one side to the other, okay, you have quinceañeras. It is a big thing to the Hispanic culture. It is not a small party. I don't know if you ever had a quinceañera for your daughters or anything like that, or you lived in our neighborhood to say what it's like. It's terrible. And I'm not going to be chased out of my neighborhood where I live and I own for a big business to come through. I am very angry because they did not come to my door. My wife is French, Irish, Hispanic. So it's not about being prejudiced or hate or not wanting a new business there. But for that spot, please go somewhere else. Because not for me. Takes away our view. The apartment that was built behind me already took some of my view away. Now to take away the views from us that is being judged against the Catholic Church, the height, come on. The church, you're measuring too? Give it a break. Thank you.
My name is Christine Ramirez. Jesse or Jesus, he is my husband. I have lived in that neighborhood. He was born and grew up in that house. His parents owned it on 9th Street. I've been married to him. This June will be 30 years. I have lived in that house. We had a beautiful view of the church and Main Street. And then they went and they put a 2-story house behind us. So that took away part of our view. Yes, I was disappointed. But okay, you know, construction's got to go on, more housing. But this apartment, this hotel or inn, whatever you want to call it, we do not need. We have Jesse's, Yessie's, we have the others on the other side. We have the Best Western, we have the motel, the American Motel by there. We have over across from Highway 1, we have the Red Roof Inn. We have the Holiday Inn. We have like 2 other hotels. We don't need more hotels, especially in our neighborhood. We don't have parking lots because we have so many houses, 7th, 8th, 9th Street. There's Alton, and there's Hyde Street and Eastern Street. I have went to some of my neighbors, and one on one side, and she came home from work one day. And I told her when we were doing the petition, because I did get some signatures, and I said, do you know this is the hotel that is going up? It's 4 stories, they're gonna serve alcohol. Oh, she was livid. She's like, oh, no way, this can't happen. I asked her to be here. Her name's Rita Martinez. She works in San Jose, though. So she doesn't get home till about 8. So she couldn't be here. But she knew nothing about this. I've talked to several of our neighbors. They knew nothing about it. And our kids play in the street because if we have a yard, it's very small. On 8th Street, right there at the Hyde Apartments, there is always, we gotta drive slow because there's always about 10 kids, and they're ranging from the ages 5 and up. They play soccer in the street. They have nowhere else to play because the houses are like boom, boom, boom. Some will have a driveway, some don't, but it only features 1 car. Now, question to you. You're gonna serve alcohol, correct? They're a guest. It's not open to the public, but a guest. What is to say that guest didn't have a little bit too much to drink because there is an alcohol limit? What's to say that person doesn't say, oh, I want to go to the store, leaves the building with a higher alcohol level than is limited, and drives and hits a child in our neighborhood? Are you going to be reliable? Are you going to go to the parents and tell them their child was hit by one of your guests? Are you going to pay the hospital bill? Because a lot of the people are field workers or not workers, and they don't have health insurance. Because I know for a fact, my husband's disabled, but I'm barely scraping by financially. But luckily, I have a good job, and I have health insurance, which is taken out of my paycheck, and yes, it hurts, but...
Ma'am, excuse, could you please address the commission?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And actually, your
I'm sorry.
time is limited. I've given you a little bit more.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But anyways, my point is, okay, they don't have health insurance. Like I said, I got it through my work, but I don't qualify for help, which I'm not asking for, but I'm barely scraping by with the insurance I do help. So a lot of people, and they're getting penalized for not having insurance.
Yeah.
My main concern is the children. I mean, my children are already big, from 19 years older, but my granddaughter's going to be moving into my neighborhood on 9th Street.
Okay. We understand your concern for the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Hi, my name is Zenaida. My address is 15 Middlefield Lane, and this is my son, Angel. And no, sorry, I'm nervous. Well, the reason why I'm here, I don't really approve the hotel. Like you guys mentioned, 4th of July. 4th of July, they broke. I was pregnant. They broke in my house. I had a baby. They caught the guys in the hotel. So now I have a disabled baby for life. And I just, alcohol, drugs, hotel, parties. Is it going to be a curfew for the quinceañera DJ? My son needs to sleep. I go through so much with him. He has a lot going on. And parking lot. I just have one driveway. We have 2 cars. My husband has a car. I have another one. It's really crowded in the street. Sometimes we get a ticket because we got to be one street to another street. And I just more concerned about that too. And then drunk drivers driving up the hill, coming down. I don't think it's a good idea to just put a big hotel. And there's no need to. There's hotels around. There's Western Hotel right in front. And there's that one that's right now, a little one. I know they want to make business, they want to make a bigger one, whatever, but I don't know. I'm just really concerned about it for my kids' safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dave Trevino. I live on Alton Way, 15 Alton Way, and this is the first time I've seen this gentleman over here. And I wouldn't want to talk to me because my view is going to be gone. So, I would avoid that, and maybe that's what happened here. I don't mind that there's going to be a hotel there. There's already one there. The thing is, it's just enormous. The other thing that I heard was the other day that they're going to be building 2 hotels on Lee Road. And I talked to one of our representatives here, our council person. She says, yeah, that's to get the people that go from Monterey to Santa Cruz and stuff. They want to stay in some place where a little less expensive. So here we are, and this is what I've heard, that we're only at 22% capacity, during the year. So that means more than 80% of the time these hotels are empty. So my question is, do you really think by building this hotel, people are going to be coming over here to stay at a hotel? They stay at a hotel because of convenience. Okay, we're talking about making the town beautiful. I agree with that. But we had a prime spot over there because this is what I've heard. From Bridge Street all the way down to Beach Street, they want to make it like Santa Cruz where you can walk down there and enjoy the restaurants and stuff. Now we have a plot where McDonald's is going to go to, and I think that part of town needs a little facelift and stuff. Now, don't you think that would be a lot beautiful over there, where you can go ahead direct from the highway, you go down Riverside, and you go right to that hotel? It would make that area a nice entrance or exit, however you want to deal with it, and then you would have that foot traffic that you're going to be looking for in order to walk from that space that I just got through mentioning. The unfortunate thing is we're talking about parking. We're talking about, a lot of these variances that took place. I mean, you had these codes here, but it seems like these codes were just kind of thrown to the wayside because we have this chain coming over here and says they want to build this monster. And the reality is, I hate to see it end up like, the Recitar is, Appleton is, where, there were hotels at one time and it ends up to being residential. In fact, at the hotel now, that one there, and then right across the way, there's people that live there for months. So if there was a demand for that, I would say, yeah, let's go 20 stories high. But that's not the reality. There's not a demand for it. Maybe 2-story, yeah, I could see that. But as far as demand for that big monster there, and it could still be a nice-looking hotel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bonnie Haduka. I reside at 26 Western, which this hotel with the size of it going, they want to double what is zoned to 70 from 35 to 70. It's going to cause an impact on my residents. Wind flow is going to be blocked. Noise is going to be reflected off of this, and I just don't think this is the proper place for a building this size. They talk about the architectural guidelines, and it's actually on the Part 2, Section 17. But the bubble does not refer to us, so they're already saying that under those guidelines, they give them the extra footage for architectural. Well, I don't think that complies here. So the 35-foot height of this zoning area, something of that level, instead of twice the size they're asking for, would be more appropriate. And as far as demands on the sewer and water, it's always been a problem spot that always backs up when heavy usage, and 75-room facility like this is going to put burden on that area, that intersection. And people that lived there for years knows that when the sewers overflow out in the street, the city's answer to that is to weld the clean-out covers so they don't float off and open up so people can fall in it. So that's one of my concerns. Another concern is this is a major zoning revision. Instead of asking for variances, it should be just a complete redo of the zoning if they want to do that. It's not like something, that can be settled at this meeting tonight. I'm also asking the commission, maybe a study session like someone here suggested, an outreach program would be very helpful. Okay, and then in closing, the negative study that I've seen by the city, it says there's only one residential space in that area that's going to be impacted, while there's from the corner of Southern Circle all the way down to Middlefield, there's houses there, okay? And then you got on Hyde Street, 7th Street, 6th Street, 9th, 9th, 8th, and 7th, that whole area, there's housing there. So I kind of have reservations on this study being accurate. So anyway, thank you for your time. I hope you agree with me, and this is a monster building. It's not appropriate in that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jean Haduka. I live at 26 Western Drive, have for 60 years. As said, I have your architectural guidelines, and Rodriguez and Brennan Street are given a boundary bubble when a commercial property butts up against it, but we're not given that. And they had certain guidelines to make so it's not a burden on that area, but we're not given that bubble. We are told you are meeting the guidelines of North Main Street, though 3 sides are covered by residential. Next, talking about the beer thing again, ABC says license type 70 is distilled spirits, beer, and wine. It also states that it's for overnight guests or their invitees, which means it's not just for, if a guest that's staying there invites their friends to come in, they can partake of that also. And like they said, it is usually a complimentary for hotels to run it, a complimentary service. Noise. As it is now, there is going to be garbage in commercial bins rolled out across from our house or catty-corner to it at 6 different times. 3 garbage pickups, 2 recycle pickups, 1 cardboard. They're going to be rolled out the back, which is less than 15 feet from a resident, the apartments, into the street where the truck has to come, roll them out into the street in order to dump them. And that will be 6 visits, so a minimum of 3 times a week, up to a maximum of 5, though every day having 1 done, depending on what their schedule is. Also, there's the question, will this area also serve as a delivery of any goods to stock the bar or whatever? Is there going to be delivery trucks? What access are they going to use to get there? Safety-wise, right now, the area between the apartments and the hotel have been gated off. And the reason was that is because there was drug use there, alcohol use there, places were getting broken into. I assume now that will be gone, as well as the stairwell opens up to that backside behind those apartments. Parking was talked about. Garbage, street sweeper day is always fun because we have to move our cars back and forth to not get ticketed and to be the street swept. Once again, they mentioned about inviting the Rotary Club can use it. Well, that's 25, if they do max on one thing, that's 25 cars. They do have parking out there with their little last page. It shows, and they say 24 spaces. That's street parking again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jose Juarez. I reside on the corner off of 2 Southern Circle. And also I would like to say, you know, I never got notice of this. Just like everyone else, it's gonna create even more problems, you know, for parking. It's very bad as it is already. Traffic, maybe a lot of unwanted traffic going through there, noise, and you know, it's already like 2 weeks or 2 days out of the week, either, you know, no parking on Tuesdays and, no, I mean, Wednesdays and Thursdays. So, you know, the question would be also is like when other extra guests come like to the hotel, where would they stay? I mean, it's gonna block off, or even if 1 or 2 of them guests just, you know, park in that zone, it's, like I said, it's already, you know, a bad place, you know, for that. And I would just, I don't know, just have you guys consider that it's not good for the neighborhood personally, because it's just going to create a lot more problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further? Anybody else wants to speak on behalf of this?
Good evening. My name is Peter Radden, and I represent the property at 21 Alton Way, which is several blocks from this subject site. I find myself in a rather unusual position this evening. Like my dear friend Chuck Allen, who addressed you earlier, I have more than 20 years of experience in real estate development and in the hotel business. I am currently the owner of hotel interests that are managed by the JDV and Commune hotel companies in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I feel that I have a good perspective on what it takes to make a successful hotel operation and some of the challenges that go along with that. So notwithstanding all of that experience, this is a first for me. I'm here to oppose a project as it's been presented. And first I'd like to reiterate and join in the legitimate concerns and the valid objections that were stated by the other citizens who have already taken the opportunity to address you. One thing in particular I think should be brought to your attention, and that has the question of parking. The project depends on hydraulic lifts to satisfy the parking ordinance. And I will tell you that hydraulic lifts were invented, I believe, in Italy approximately 20 or 30 years ago, and they have evolved to the point where they are notorious gimmicks, and they are often giggled over at cocktail parties attended by real estate developers who look to circumvent parking regulations. They are not convenient to use. They are not efficient. It takes forever to park your car and get your car out, and they're mechanically unreliable. And so any dependency on that is unrealistic. Those cars are going to pour over into the streets, and they're going to affect that residential neighborhood. I don't think there's any question about that. But let's go on to kind of the bigger picture. This project has many aspects that have been glossed over and are altogether ignored in what appears to be a classic rush to judgment. This project deserves the kind of due deliberation and arm's length analysis that is warranted when you have such an overarching reach of the proposed development. The developer and the construction interests who are here are effective advocates for their business agenda, but it is your job to address the community's agenda. And I respectfully suggest that this should be looked at with a skeptical eye because of all of the major variances from your own zoning laws that are tried and true and have been in place for many years. Your predecessors at the City Council, Planning Department, Planning Commission took pains to put these zoning ordinances together, and when you deviate from them in such a substantial way, the benefit of the doubt needs to be in favor of those existing regulations and ordinances. And I'm not sure that that's being respected here. So I urge you to do an A to Z reality check on the project. And let's just start with the way that the project is billed. It's billed as the La Quinta development. Has the city confirmed that La Quinta is indeed going to be the operator of this project? Certainly there's a sign out there that says it's coming soon, as if this hearing and the processes that are attached to it don't even exist. But I would like an answer to the question, what are the conditions, the restrictions, the limitations, the qualifications of any contract that La Quinta has? There was a question asked earlier, will the existing owner be the operator of the hotel? I don't believe that there was an answer to the question, but it would be interesting to know. La Quinta, by the way, is a real estate investment trust, which is a Wall Street-based entity. 700 or so of its locations are owned by the company and leased back from a real estate investment trust, and then there are about 200 or 300 locations that are franchised. So, would like to know just that threshold question, because otherwise, you know, it's a truth in advertising issue. Is it or is it not a La Quinta? And if so, what are the strings that are attached? The other thing I think we should address is this notion that this is the gateway to Watsonville. It's going to make an impression on people coming in and out of the community. Well, we're in very good economic times right now, but that's a double-edged sword. We need to think about what is going to happen when we have less robust economic times. Hotels fall faster and harder than in any other segment of the commercial real estate market when you have an economic downturn. So we need to worry about that. We don't want the gateway to Watsonville to be blighted in the event that we have inevitable dips in the economic cycle, and those are inevitable.
Excuse me. I'm going to give you a couple more minutes.
Okay, I probably don't need that. The 170-page packet is very optimistic, paints a rosy picture, but the context, I think, is akin to a math problem. Show your work. In the 170 pages, it is rife with conclusory assumptions upon conclusory assumptions. It's not enough to simply state assumptions A, B, C, and D, and then come up with, therefore, all is okay. Given the transformative scope of the project, it seems that a full-blown, full-fledged environmental impact study would be warranted here. It would then offer objective support for many of these conclusions, or it might not, but at least you'd be informed. Let the chips fall where they may. It's a multi-million-dollar project. Certainly, the budget would accommodate a comprehensive treatment of all these important issues. So let's have some study sessions. Let's have the community outreach. We've heard from the builder that he has walked the neighborhood, made a distinction between renters and property owners. I think they should all be given equal dignity in the process. If he has a journal indicating who he talked to and when, that would be very interesting to have submitted into the record. But let's have that community outreach. Let's have the Chamber of Commerce. Let's have Greg Caput. Let's have the neighbors. Let's have everybody there. And let's figure out where we are in this thing. So measure twice and cut once on something this important. The application may or may not be ultimately meritorious, but at this point, it's got to be more than just a roll of the dice for the community of Watsonville. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and, anybody else want to speak on this item on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and I'll bring it back for discussion from the commission. Go ahead, Nick.
The question was brought up twice, so I think that a lot of people want an answer to this. The La Quinta Inn, is it going to be a franchise, or is it going to be, what exactly is the arrangement?
La Quinta is actually here. It is actually a franchise. It is run by AKS Hospitality. It is a solely owned business with the La Quinta franchise, but it is everybody's trained under La Quinta. All the processes are La Quinta. All the designs are La Quinta. Everything is a La Quinta. So La Quinta is not going to cut and turn away. This is their project, and that's why I have project architects and other people that are actually from La Quinta that are part of this project.
Mr. Radden, Mrs. Hyde, did that answer your question?
May I stop you, sir? I would either need you to come up to the podium, but also at the same time, we kind of closed the public hearing, and I'd like to hear from the commissioners on the discussion on this. Okay? I'm aware that we just kind of went beyond
sorry,
where
that was
we need to
fault for not following protocol.
Need going through here, and I apologize again. Again, we're back into the commission's discussion on this matter, and I guess I got my turn to lead the way here on this. What we need to look at here is the impact on our residents and our community overall. I understand the business part of this, as they see this as an opportunity for Watsonville to have economic growth of some sort. Personally, I think this is a monster of a building to be placed in this location. I think it could be a smaller hotel maybe accommodated here if it's going to be a hotel. I have that problem with the parking. I also have a problem with the delivery time. We have no conditions set for them to put for delivery times as we've done for other locations. Obviously, there's going to be linen going to be done there. There's going to be items brought in to this location. How much is it going to impact our residents? How much is it going to impact our community? Some of it are going to be favorable because they're going to be able to use some of our community resources around us. They say in the report that it's not going to impact our parks. There's no parks close to it, but yet we have Callahan right there. So I think that's a very close park that might be impacted on use by folks of this nature. And I'm looking at the conditions, and they say that there's not going to be no entertainment, but yet on a condition that there's live entertainment shall be allowed in the restaurant area on Fridays and Saturdays, nights only. So again, you know, I'm looking at this report and looking at what they turned into us, and just a small error that they called a cut and paste, and they put this zone as a commercial and industrial zone. To me, it indicates that the staff really didn't take time to look at their cut and paste and make sure that their information was accurate. So that's making me question some of this information that they're putting forth to us. So these are all these questions that I need answered completely. And I understand, again, that For the city, this is like, they're looking at this like a jewel for the end of Main Street. And the Rotary Club and the agriculture industry is all saying, oh, this would be great. But they don't have to live around it. And so we need to make sure that we take care of our residents and our community overall.
I fully agree. I did speak with several residents, and they were very upset about this project. And they also told me that the owners of the hotel did not contact them, and that they were upset about, everything from parking to the size of the hotel. And as I went through this packet, and it's giant, I felt that I didn't have enough information to fairly evaluate the project. I have so many notes, so many questions, and I'm hearing from the applicants that they haven't, there are still questions that haven't been fully thought through. So I'm wondering if we can we have more study on this? I mean, can we table it to a later meeting? How does that work? I'm not quite sure.
It's up to the Planning Commission. I would not recommend an environmental impact report. This project does not seem to warrant that in regards to standard things related to traffic and parking. There are things identified in the neighborhood. This meets the requirements that are in our zoning code. So in regards to parking, in regards to traffic, I think we could have an additional neighborhood study. If you would like us to have a study out in the neighborhood and hear what else is there. But again, it's kind of up to the council at this stage to determine if an EIR would be necessary. I don't think at the Planning Commission level we could make that determination. I could have a community meeting. An EIR is a huge issue. It's going to take an additional 8 months just to prepare it. And it adds a year to the project timeline. So, just be aware that when you talk about environmental impact report, yes, you get additional information. I'm not sure you'll get additional information that will give you more than what you currently have. This is, it is a modification to what was proposed. Again, it's 10 feet higher. The main structure is 10 feet higher than what the zoning code allows. It's not twice as high. The only things that are getting that is the architectural elements, and it's one of them, which is at the front of the project. So it's, again, that probably could be reduced in height, 6 feet, something like that, and still meet the, objective of making it a little bit of a visual interest at the front. But again, you can direct a community meeting. I would encourage that if you think it's appropriate, if you think you'll get additional information.
Go ahead, Jenny.
I too have a lot of concerns after listening to the residents, and on the one hand, it does look like something positive for the community, some jobs, a new facade to that area. But listening to the residents, I would like to recommend that we have a community study or a neighborhood study and get more input from the residents, and also for the business to address some of the concerns that we have when it comes to the use of the facilities, also to the deliveries, pickup of trash, and how that will work. And parking is a big issue.
Else? No. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll close the commission's discussion, and I'll move on to item E, the recommendation.
I do have a question. If we decide to hold a community meeting, would we have to vote on this? now, say no?
No, I mean, you could make a recommendation to continue for a public meeting and bring it back after we've conducted that, similar to what we've done with the cell towers. You don't have to make a decision. You can get additional information through a community meeting. That's well within your parameters. So if that's a direction that you want to go, you can make that a recommendation just to continue to have a community meeting, get some additional information and bring it back.
If we did decide that, the notices only go out to the 500 or 300-foot radius to the property owners?
Yes, I mean, that's the requirement. We could go to like the cell tower, which is a 500-foot. We would request that the applicant supply the additional money to send that out, but I would be happy to do a 500-foot radius.
So that being said, what I would suggest, if we decide to go this way, is the residents of that area, you reach out to your other residents and let them know about this meeting that we might be having to bring as many people as you can. So with that, I recommend that we hold a outreach meeting within how many days is feasible?
Give us 3 weeks.
Within 30 days.
I second it.
We have a second on
it-
that recommendation? Can I have roll call?
Hold on real quick. I really recommend that all the planning commissioners show up there to hear what the residents of this area really were talking about. I mean, we need to listen to them too.
Can somebody read the
recommendation?
The recommendation so that we know what yes means and what no means?
My understanding is that you continue it for 30 days to have a neighborhood meeting within that time frame and bring it back to the planning commission with additional information.
And this would be for our next meeting.
Probably not for the next meeting.
That's what I wanted.
I don't think you're going to get and us being able to report back. Yeah.
That's probably not or definitely not.
So
Probably.
hopefully we'll-
It's
hopefully
really
we'll see it in
tight to
60
make these
days.
timelines, so I don't think we could make it by the May meeting.
Okay. We good to go? Yep. Roll call?
Corley?
Yes.
Jenkins?
Yes.
Cammer?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Sarmiento?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next item.
Can I ask for like a 2-minute recess? I gotta.
We're going to go ahead and have a 2-minute recess. Hi, I get to use the gavel. Evening, folks. Could we come back? Commissioners? All righty, good evening. We're going to resume our commissioners' meeting. We're on item 6.5, and it's the public hearing to consider recommendation to the city council on a change resolution to the emergency relocation program to reduce assistance.
That one's
I
continued.
understand that. I understand.
Yeah,
But
you don't
just for
need
the
it.
record, to patience. Assistance to maximum of 7 nights hotel voucher for displaced tenants filed by the city of Watsonville. This resolution is exempt from the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act section. This item will be continued to the May 5th, 2015 regular meeting. Saying that, I will go to item 6.6, a public hearing to consider recommendation to the city council establishing an ordinance 2015-68 to create chapter 43 of title 5 public welfare of the Watsonville Municipal Code to establish an aggressive solicitation ordinance. This resolution is exempt from the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act section guidelines. Staff presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Gonzalez, members of the commission, Keith Boyle, Acting Community Development Director, my other hat today. So the mayor has requested that we consider an ordinance to address panhandling in the community. She has felt that there has been an increase in the activity, and the police department has concurred that there has been some notable additional activity in the community. Currently, the police department does not have an enforcement tool to address aggressive panhandling. So we were directed to look at what other communities are doing. We drafted an ordinance, proposed ordinance that's very consistent with what Santa Cruz is currently doing and use that as a model. The definition that we're proposing as part of the ordinance is aggressive solicitation is any verbal or nonverbal request made with a sign or by person seeking an immediate donation of money or other valuable item. Solicitation cannot occur during dark hours, basically between sunset and sunrise. The ordinance proposed limitations. They cannot have panhandling next to bus stops, in public transportation facilities such as the metro facility, at vehicles on the street, in public buildings, and within 50 feet of banks or ATMs, or at street corners or intersections. This ordinance is going to provide a tool for enforcement for the police department. The first one is an infraction where the police officer can provide a warning to somebody or provide a citation at the discretion of the officer and what is being proposed. If there are 2 activities that are cited in a 6-month period, it could be identified as a misdemeanor, which could include additional penalties such as jail time. Police have supported the ability to enforce this issue. Staff is recommending the Planning Commission recommend approval of the ordinance to the City Council, subject to the findings in the staff report. It concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Yes,
Go ahead,
Keith and is it Officer
Zamora?
Zamora. How many complaints has the city received, the police department or others in city government about? Because there's a lot of solicitation that goes on around town.
Sure. So, good evening, commissioners, by the way. So the calls for service are really hard to pin down because sometimes we might get a solicitation call for service that specifically is dispatched as a panhandler, or sometimes we'll get a disturbance, sometimes we'll get a trespassing, sometimes we'll get somebody suspicious. So to really give you an accurate number is we'd have to go through all those calls for service. What I can tell you is that for panhandling calls from January 14th to February 15th of this year, we had 12 panhandling calls. Now again, what I would stress to all of you is that sometimes these calls are not dispatch, it's just panhandling. There are multiple types of issues going on, okay? For January through December of 2014, we received 98 calls for panhandlers for the city. And it's been my experience that sometimes these calls come in as a trespassing call. So for the year of 2014, we received 288 calls of trespassers on property. Now again, those are just trespassing calls. We haven't gone in there and plucked out whether or not panhandling has been an issue. I can tell you that more than likely some of those are not just panhandling and they're just trespassing. So that's just kind of a snapshot of the calls for service.
Do you have some idea of how effective this has been in Santa Cruz in terms of controlling or curbing, addressing the issue of panhandling?
Sure. Well, just in my conversations with some of the law enforcement officials in that area, it's been an effective tool for them. And again, it's not a cure-all, but it's a tool that officers use, that all of their officers use, which in turn we would be following somewhat the same model, not exactly what Santa Cruz does, but it is effective.
How many calls for service does the police department receive each year, or a rough amount? I mean, of all kinds of calls for service.
Sure. We have a large volume of calls for service. I can't tell you specifically exactly how many calls we have. I don't have that information with me, but I can certainly report back.
I mean, we're talking about tens and thousands, I would.
Yeah, we're certainly in the thousands. Absolutely, yeah.
Estimate, yeah, okay. Yeah.
I hope not tens, thousands.
Well, I think 16,000 that I read in Santa Cruz. Thank you.
Jenny?
And I'm just concerned that if we cite these people, first of all, they don't have the resources to pay fines. And then we cite them a second time, then what happens? And I'm also thinking about your time. I would much rather have Watsonville PD taking care of violent crime than to ticket somebody who's panhandling. I just don't see that such a big issue that we need to take up your time, Watsonville PD's time, to enforce something like this. But so what would happen to somebody who doesn't, who's ticketed, who's been cited more than 2-3 times, then that person would be arrested?
Potentially, yes. But I would stress to the group that the intention of this municipal code is not to ticket people and throw them in jail, because the poverty issue and the homelessness issue is not a problem that's independent. There's a lot of layers, a lot of things that play into it. So when we were thinking about this, we realized that, okay, so what if we cite someone and they don't have the means to pay for the citation? So what we're working on is developing a resource card where if we do hand out a citation, if we absolutely have to, but that's not the goal. The goal is to get people help. Okay, so if we do hand out a citation, or even if we don't, on that resource card, we're going to, list where folks can get food, potential jobs, counseling for alcohol, drug addiction, faith-based organizations. And then also the possibility of transitional housing, because we've done a lot of work with, or a lot of collaboration with, the 180 campaign out of Santa Cruz. So we understand that it's just not about citing people, it's about getting people help. But potentially, an individual who is not complying, who does not want help, could eventually end up in jail.
So the first time, I'm sorry to follow. So the first time that you would approach someone because you had a complaint or you happened to be there, it wouldn't be so much as to cite them, it would be more to provide some resources and to do a quick intervention and hopefully get this person connected to other resources, right?
Yes, the goal again is to solve the problem as it's happening and provide those resources. And if an individual is not willing to comply with or understand what's going on, then potentially the next step would be to cite the individual, because now what happens is we'll respond to a call, and typically we'll show up, and the only tool we have is the California trespass law, which in order for us to arrest somebody for trespassing, the person in charge of the property or the property owner has to want to press charges. And there's always a fear of retaliation. There's always, well, you know what, we don't really want to arrest this person. We know that they have issues, whether they be mental issues or poverty. We feel bad, so just tell them to move along. But that doesn't solve the problem. So we're looking at different ways to kind of come together and really deal with this issue. So I hope that answered your question. And sir, Mr. Jenkins, for the record, I think the calls for service are about 60,000 per year.
60 into the Watsonville Police Department?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a lot of calls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
we're a
is
pretty
calls.
busy agency.
And we're going to add to it. Anybody else, any questions for staff?
I just want to commend you for working with the services that are available in the community. Actually, that's something we were talking about in the recruitment meeting as well. And also, I live over by kind of by Target, and there I see the same people panhandling, and I've actually talked to them, and it's the services they need, because and somebody might need services for different things, for mental health issues, for homelessness. Maybe they need food, and I think it's important to connect people with the services they need. So thank you for that.
Thank you for that compliment.
Any other questions for staff?
If we could just, in acting on the staff recommendations, could we include the recommendation that in these encounters that resource material be handed out, whether it's by the police or it might be some other public agency, that or perhaps there's something that citizens can give. If the same kind of card could be available to citizens, because all of us run into solicitations every day. And I know this is a woman I've been trying to get into the senior center on 5th Street, I think it is, for the services that she could get for health. She needs some health. She lives in the Recitar. She has a unit in the Recitar. But if there's something we as a community as well as the police could do, if that could be considered as a possibility for those of us who do run in and converse with these individuals.
Sure, and we're always looking for community involvement. Come one, come all. The reason why I put it out in that fashion is because usually we're the ones dealing or making that first contact. But absolutely, we would welcome community involvement.
Yeah, we can easily put that in the ordinance, that we include a resource as card as part of first contact.
It's kind of like the neighborhood services when we go around for the post-incident team, we give out a card. And I think that's, that could be kind of a modeled after that.
Right.
Thank you.
No. Anybody else have questions for the staff? No. My concern is for the burden on the system, and how much change we're actually going to have passing an ordinance of this nature. I mean, I know you're saying that this is going to be a tool for you to use, but once we put this tool into effect, what is going to be the burden on our system? You know, being calls made to you for panhandling, that takes dispatch time, your processing time, office processing time, and then we're going down to the point if we do wind up giving citations, infractions, how much is this going to create? We already have a huge backlog in the system. How much is this going to cost us more? The money that the city doesn't have to expend on and doing these kind of things. And I like the idea of the resource of the cards, you know, because it's not going to go away. We can put ordinance and we can jail people. We're always going to have panhandlers. That's going to be something that's going to, it's been with us for years and years and years and years, and it's always going to be with us. There's always going to be people in need. How we deal with it as a community is a different thing. I don't like going off with Jenny. I mean, we can give an infraction. Are they going to pay it? You know, probably not. Are we going to jail them? How long? 1 day? Where are they going to wind up? Back to another corner. So for me, I don't see an ordinance like this going to be really effective in getting rid of panhandlers. I think it takes more than that. It takes community. If this is going to be a tool for the police to use so they don't have to have that no trespassing requirement to take action, then, you know, that's, again, what is it going to be the burden on the system?
Sure.
That's my concern.
Yeah, sure, and very, very good questions. And then I think that the system is already burdened, right? We receive these calls for service. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get ahead of the game, and we're trying. Again, the goal isn't to arrest people and to cite them; is to get people to the right place, whatever that place might be, a safe place. So if you have a transient that's always intoxicated, that's aggressively asking for money and potentially could get money, if that individual is a continual problem, perhaps the best place for that individual might be in jail to sober up so that individual doesn't get robbed, you know, and beaten. So we receive these calls for service already, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide a good service to the community member, to the business owner, to the property owner. And we've gone out as a police agency recently and talked to businesses, and they're happy, they're supportive that we're actually doing something, because they don't see a whole lot being done. So we're trying to take an active role, a progressive role, and trying to do things a little bit differently. And we realize that handcuffing people isn't the cure-all. That's why the resources and working with community is, I think, a huge way to go about this.
No? Go ahead and move on. Again, this is, I'll go ahead and open it up to the public hearing. Seeing none, I close that. Commissioners' discussion. You guys want to discuss this?
I would move the approval of the staff's recommendation of the ordinance with the understandings that we have had this evening with respect to a proactive component to the activity. And if possible, the same kind of information might be available to the public so that they can distribute it. So it's not only a police department response, but any interested citizen can pass out this resource card. That would be, I move with that understanding or recommendation.
Second.
Do we have a second? We have a second?
And just to be clarified, we are just recommending to City Council, correct?
That's correct.
Jenny?
Can I add to that recommendation, though? Because what I would like to do is make sure that it's clear that we are not citing people right at the beginning, that people get a resource card with information, and then perhaps the second time they receive a notice, or that we should take one or two extra steps in giving them resources, because we're dealing with a population that is on the street for mental health issues, substance abuse. They will not go and get services immediately for a while. And I think it's going to be more of a burden, and also for these people to be incarcerated, or I'm uncomfortable with that.
I would comment, this is probably a tool that it's at the discretion of a police officer, and under the situation, you know, I'm not sure we can direct them to, you know, if there's an aggressive situation that warrants them, they have to make a decision. So, you know, I'm not sure we can actually restrict it.
And maybe I wasn't clear enough, and I apologize. I think it's important to recognize that as officers, sometimes we do have to go out and make that citation or make that arrest because of what we're faced with. And for us, you know, our job is so not predictable, right? So ideally, we would want to not cite people, but sometimes we may have to, and sometimes the only way to get services to an individual is to incarcerate them. And it sounds calloused, right? But I can, just from personal experience from working here 20 to 25 years, that sometimes really does work. And people are ordered by a judge to get services or to get medical help. So there's going to be those times where we have to cite on that first contact. But the goal is to not do that, if that makes sense.
Well, one of the reason I brought up the concern was is once we pass an ordinance or the city council passes the ordinance, is again overburden the system. You know, with property owners finding out, oh, well, I can call the cops because I see a panhandler, and then you know you're going to the Target shopping center continuously because store owners now know that they can just call you because they got panhandlers in the area. And you have to deal with it. And that's one of my concerns with this ordinance. And I know it's a tool for police officers, which is, you need something at the same time, so it's one of those.
Right, and again, and I would just note
don't
again.
feel good about this.
Sure, no,
you know,
and I would just.
I know you need it.
Sure, and I would just note again that sometimes it's not just panhandling. Sometimes it's a medical issue. Sometimes it's a mental health issue that needs to be addressed. So I would just put that out there.
Do we have a recommendation, right?
Yep.
Do we have a second? Right? Can we have a roll call?
Corley?
Yes.
Jenkins?
Yes.
Cammer?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Sarmiento?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
With reverence, yes.
So in regards to director's report, the only thing I have to report is that the cell tower is going to come back to you guys on the 545 Ohlone. It's basically been a discussion that the council wanted to have some additional study done, an independent study of the needs analysis and also a more detailed analysis of the alternative locations. So it is going to be coming back to you. I don't know a specific time, but just be aware, okay?
Thank you. All right, my final thing. Meeting adjourned.